The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CoCoNation Show episode 393.1. How is everybody
What
doing?
makes it special?
My mom says I'm special.
We all say
Everybody
you're
was trying to
special.
watch. Go ahead, Kip.
Oh, I was just going to say we all say that Jason's special.
He was very right.
I just hope that it restarted properly for everybody else so they could find it again, and it didn't. They're kind of still waiting on a dead channel.
I think so, because I reset it back to the same event.
Well,
Okay.
And it looks like it did on, at least on my iPad here.
I think Jim Rye prefers the one that we're not on.
9 out of 10 viewers.
9 out of 10 viewers prefer a black screen.
Or Hypnotoad.
All hail the Hypnotoad.
So I think
That's the one you lick, right? No, just kidding.
I think something happened with the restream and it kicked us off for a bit and I had to restart. So let's see who we got here. On the panel, first up, we got yours truly. And sitting in the dark, we got Wingnut.
Hey, hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Howdy.
Ron Deluxe.
Yes, and FujiNet is up for the CoCo finally. Their little news app is working. It's a lot of fun.
Good.
Thank you, whoever did it.
All right. Next over, we got Rick Euland.
Howdy, folks.
And next row, we got Ken Waters.
Hello, everybody.
And Alan, Exile in Paradise.
Crayons taste like purple.
Okay.
Greg the Bunny.
Yes.
And Bob Emery.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the show.
Okay. And next up is L. Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone. And Merry Christmas kind of ahead of time, since we'll be taking a break.
Getting there.
And let's see, MarkO.
Howdy there. Not very peppy today. Getting over being sick, but still sick.
Pepe Le Pew.
And Jason, who we haven't seen in a while.
Well, yeah, it's been 2 weeks. I was here the week before last, but
Geez, I don't even remember that.
I was here, yes, because I was happy to find out that we were still making jokes about that Nick Marenti's game. But I have my Diet Dr. Pepper. I have water. So I'm ready to go before we take a break, and you can get to take a break from us here at the CoCoNation.
All right.
Give me a
And
David Ladd stat.
last on the bottom row, we got Brian Weasler.
Hello, welcome to the show. Ken,
And
I
we
like your spirit.
Ken, you are looking a little long in the toque.
I see what you did there.
I think Ken just forgot to wash clothes this week, and that's all he had left.
Right?
I just haven't
Excellent,
taken a
Jason,
shower in
excellent.
a while, so I had to hide my hair.
All the water froze in Canada.
And let's see, in the chat, we've got, excuse me, Kevin Holloway, Wayne Campbell, Tim Franklin, Canadian Retro Things. Exile in Paradise. Frank S.
Now,
Scroll. Mike
What-
Hobbyist. What's that?
does Exile have a cheeseburger there in paradise?
Always.
Let's see. Michael Zwiffle. Jim Rye. 60. And yes, I'm scrolling. Mark Siegel. And let's see. Who else is in here? Tom Eric Gunderson, 8 Bits in the Basement. Porta CoCo. Boy, the chat's already been active and we just barely got going.
By the way, you should read Porta CoCo's comment about Rick.
Yep.
And let's see, it says, Happy
what did you-
holidays, everyone. Oh, the other one. It says, Rick, my 8-year-old daughter says if you put on a red suit, you would look just like Santa.
Right. Put on my red suit, hop on my red Harley, and go riding around. Ho, ho, ho.
Let's see. What just happened? Couldn't connect to the feed. Well, it looks like Restream, I think, glitched out on the pre-show, and we ended up having to restart the stream, and that's why we do the pre-show, so
Yeah.
we can cut it out if things go south on us.
First world problems.
So, but so far it looks like it's holding, so I'm not sure what that was.
Why do they
Okay.
always say it goes south when it should go north?
Well, it depends on the hemisphere.
Where Canada is.
Even all the Canadians come south.
Yeah, if you're like Nick in Australia, you have to go north to get to Canada.
He just needs to go
Actually,
around the other
he
way.
could go south and just go over the South Pole and back
Just
up to
keep
Canada.
going. Yeah. Wouldn't be much further.
But then he's going north again, so.
Yeah, but he started out
Damn it.
south.
Logic. Shit.
I don't have the rabbit hole sticker to put up, so sorry, guys.
Oh, that's all right. Bunker Hobbyist says, Rick, don't go to the mall.
No, I'd be trapped. I never get out.
Yeah, don't go to the mall.
Surrounded by 5-year-olds.
Wait,
don't do that.
Santa, I need to tell you what I want for Christmas.
Santa in
And being
disguise.
Being chased around the mall by little children yelling, Santa, wait!
And then, of course, when you go to the music store, they'll say, when's your tour going back on?
Right.
That's an appropriate laugh for that, yes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I guess I just double checking the calendar. This is the last show of the year.
Is our pun bucket empty?
Oh,
Unless
I'm
we
sure
have a last regular show that you're, Ken, I think you guys were talking, there might be a kind of impromptu gathering of game players if there's enough people to show up or something.
Sure, why not?
Boxing Day.
Sure.
Or did I mishear that? I thought you guys were discussing that on the show.
We were, but we never came to any consensus.
We're
No,
not.
well,
We're
I think
not doing
you have to
the-
wait to see if you have enough people show up. I won't be
We
able to.
got
I'm out in the
time.
country with crappy internet, so.
Are we having the David Ladd New Year's Eve special?
Don't know. So, anyway, I didn't even plan a show today.
Oh, so like every other week.
Yeah, well, I tried a little bit of planning, but today,
Planning's
Yeah.
overrated.
All right.
I think
let's see.
I think what we should do is right after this show ends, just start streaming all of the episodes from all year, right up until New Year's.
Wow. Okay.
I think there's a law
I don't-
against that.
I don't think there's enough time.
All right. Project updates and acquisitions. Let's see. Looks like
Hey.
Rick signed up.
Sure.
So what do you have there, Santa?
Well, I can do something, I guess. So to recap what's going on here, the chip that I want to program comes in two versions. There's a DIP version and a PLCC version. So the obvious thing was to make an adapter that matches the signals up between the two versions. I did that, and my programmer wasn't good enough to do the job anyway, so I ended up buying another one. So now I've got all this crap. So which I have a bunch of adapters. I thought this was kind of ominous, this little bit of foreboding there. Good
Oh,
luck.
it's a good luck charm.
So we'll see how that goes. But
Is
in
that
any
a thing?
case,
Is that a thing you put in your mouth for when you get electrocuted?
yeah, bite down on this.
Yeah, so you don't swallow your tongue.
I thought maybe they heard about my soldering skills and that was just, sent in along with it.
No, I believe if it was your soldering skills, they say take cover.
Yeah.
Good luck with a lot of sarcasm. That's what I would say.
We have that.
I was pretty encouraged though, because it provided an adapter that was the exact duplicate of the one that I handmade. So we're good to go, right? Should be home free.
Maybe.
Hey Rick,
No.
I've got a couple of them things too.
Yep. There's boxes and boxes of them soon.
And ones that I have hand fabricated as well.
That's the road we're headed down, because what this programmer wants is a 28 to 28 pin adapter. It doesn't care what the real world does. It does its own thing. So I, of course, then made another handmade adapter. I'm getting really good at these. You'll notice I've got color-coded signal wires, and
The wires are neat.
Do you like
all-
to label them so you know which
it's
is
all-
which, so you don't
Well,
get the
the
magic
yellow
smoke?
ones are inputs, and the blue ones are in outputs, and the white ones are theoretically not connected, but the programmer can tell if they aren't connected. So the not connected wires have to be connected on this thing, or it doesn't work anymore. So anyway, we are now.
Folks, this is
back
why I
where
don't do
was
hardware. It's too confusing.
The week before Thanksgiving, I now have the breadboard back together with the programmable
Nice.
chip in it, and I'm lighting 2 LEDs by pushing on 2 buttons. So, woohoo! Technology.
Excellent.
We can make a LED light up.
Have you considered switching to a whole grain breadboard?
That might help. As I get older, I could use the fiber.
Is that one gluten free?
Oh yeah, actually it is, because it's made from the finest PVC and some steel, and yeah.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, that's it. I'm back to Thanksgiving again. It only took a month and purchases and hobby work, and I love computers.
Sometimes.
Back in there. My chips are escaping.
Oh no.
They better not be Doritos.
My
Nope,
what
I already
bothers
caught
me.
those.
What
I love
what
them
bothers
Doritos.
Go ahead,
what
Rick.
bothers me is that I now have like 24 different adapters, and they're all different, even though a lot of them have the same pinouts. So I just know I'm never going to need any one of the ones that I have. I'm always going to need a different kind of new one.
I was going to need the one you don't have.
Exactly. I mean, because I look at all the ones that I have, and there's like 3 different ways to do this kind of chip. Well, that must mean that the new chips have a 4th way of doing it. That's just, that's how it works. Anyway.
Okay, cool.
I'll hopefully have something that actually works and does things to show off in the new year.
Okay, let's see. Bob, did you find your power adapter?
Oh, I'm working on it. Right now I've got a dead battery to deal with, so I
Okay.
can't really talk about much.
Brian, you have any treats for us today?
Not today.
What?
Oh man!
Oh my goodness, did your truck break down?
There's nothing.
Are you feeling all right? Should we send someone over for a wellness check?
Blink
Brian,
twice
did-
if you're okay.
The
Did you
80s
lose
called
the
us.
key to your warehouse?
All right, well, in that case,
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's
Good night, everybody.
It was a fun one.
Shortest
See you next
Christmas
year.
special ever.
Right.
I guess I have one
Ah.
minor update I'll mention. For the Game On Challenge, the scores that were built into GoldFinder that you download off the archive were incredibly high by whoever uploaded the game. I don't think anybody that made the top 10 list, I think, or even could
No.
during the thing. So I went and hacked the disk image and zeroed all of it out. And then to test it, I put my name with a pretty low score that anybody should be able to beat. It's on the Discord right now in the Game On Challenge channel, but I'll be uploading it to the archive after the show today. and it'll show up probably in about a week.
Thank you for doing that.
And Rick, Mark Siegel in the chat is suggesting to lay out the board and send it to PC Way.
Oh yeah, when they know what it's going to be.
When it's finalized, yeah.
Well, that's where this adapter comes in, because.
Well, I think he's saying the adapters. Send the adapters.
Oh yeah, the adapters, but I don't know what they're going to be until I need it, and then it's quicker to, like, half an hour I can have one built. So I just have a whole bunch of these little universal breadboards that I got from somewhere, and whip out the handy socket box and the breadboards and the little pin header clippage, and got a new adapter. It's just strange that I have so many and I never have the one I need.
By the way, Mark B, you scared the heck out of David Craker because he put, "No, I missed the show," because he came on right as you were playing the ending.
The time changed again.
That's good. Now, our next show is going to be on the 4th. Is that correct? Of January?
I don't know.
Whatever 2 Saturdays is, yeah.
My calendar don't go that high.
Yeah, well, I have a friend, Scott Douglas Carter. He's going to come on, and he's a CoCo guy, and he always watches his show, but he never comes on because he's, I guess, a little nervous or something about, I don't know. But anyways, he's also a radio astronomer, which is interesting. So
was he also a ham at one point too? Then, or
he might be. Maybe it could be that my WeFax drew him in. I don't know. You know how you got it down on the crawler?
It's like honey to wasps.
Yeah. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Everybody
These guys
drink.
are cool. Yeah. So I just mentioned that. I gave him the log-on information. So if we change it beforehand, he won't come.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, I should mention one other thing too. Last week I mentioned I finally did some web page updates on the game site, and one of the games I added was TRC Retro Programming, the YouTube channel guy. He put up his little Ghost Saga, which is kind of like 3 mini games. I put the entry up there, but I was waiting for the upload to the archive to go through, and it hasn't. I don't know, maybe got missed or something. So during the Game On Challenge Live, he mentioned it wasn't on there yet. I had a download link, so I went and actually put a copy there. So if you guys actually want to try it, it's actually there for download now. It's a little basic game with 3 casual games, kind of mini games built into it that have a common theme. You have to go between them several times to win.
And while we have this gap, I have Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer. If you guys get bored and you got nothing to do and you're, I think I'll just surf a little bit. Go to this channel over here on Facebook, and you can see a whole bunch of young kids in their CoCos that they first got. There's, I don't know, maybe 12 or 15 of them laced throughout the place. Because every time somebody shows a old picture of them, on either Christmas morning or whenever they got it, maybe
or
on their
birthday or something, whenever they got their first CoCo, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really neat to see all these youngsters, who are now.
Did I upload my little black and white photo? It wasn't when I first got it, but it was pretty close.
I think you did. Yeah.
I know it's on my site buried in some subpage somewhere, but.
Yeah, I think it's on there. But that thing's been around for a few years, so it's rich, full of stuff. You can scroll down forever. So if you get a chance, take a look. There was a free ad, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So Show Us Your Color Computer on Facebook, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Wingnut, you got any pictures of you? I can't imagine you being any younger.
Oh, me being younger?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have pictures of me being younger. Yeah.
Yeah, but did you have a CoCo back then? No.
Oh no. The CoCo 2 came out when I was born.
Oh, cool. He's that young or that old.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess if we had actually thought about this ahead of time, we could have done a year in review, but.
Well, I was just going to suggest one thing we could ask is go around the panel and go around the people in the chat here and just ask from the past year, what's your favorite thing that happened either on the show or the CoCo in general? Maybe a new game got released, or you saw some tutorial that was really awesome, or you got a high score in something you've been trying for years or whatever.
Yeah, CoCo Fest.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fun.
The Cocoa Fest getting back to normal is a good thing.
Yep.
For me, the highlight was being able to see the deluxe CoCo in action after pouring through the ROMs and figuring out what all the new commands are. We still have got one or two that we haven't quite fully figured out how they work yet, but that was exciting to see it, and all the notes that Brian got from Robert Kilgus with that.
And
You know,
speaking of Brian, him and his put together computers this year that we saw is pretty amazing. He's got more than one, evidently, right?
Oh, the
And,
kits.
the kits, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah, kits. He's got the deluxe. He's got the. I guess Marc didn't call it a prototype, but it was a not a prototype, a pre-production model.
Right.
Yeah. I think he had a different name for it. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was really cool seeing those in person at CoCo Fest after hearing so much about them and seeing, private pictures sent back and forth. But for me, the deluxe ROMs, that was the best part, because I mean, there's a couple other deluxes out there that have been recovered, but none of them have even an alpha version of the ROMs like this does. So we kind of got to see where BASIC was going, and there's some stuff there they never even put in the CoCo 3. So that was really fascinating for me. That was probably my high point.
I'm so old they named it after my last name.
Well, that was the old version only sold in Italy, though.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Do we lose anybody this last year? Anybody?
No one
I'm
died.
sure we did. I'm trying to remember.
When did
Steve pass?
Yeah, when did he pass? Was it early
Was
this
it-
year, or was that last year?
I know we discovered it early this year, but I'm trying to remember when he actually did pass.
Yeah, it might have been
Which we
the
didn't
end
find
of
out for
last
months.
year. Yeah, that's right. But still, it was, a sad thing. And everybody dug out their picture of him. Here's mine with him. He did
Technically,
live.
we lost him this year, so
Yeah.
Fred Pravancha in that chat says, so for me, the CoCo highlight of the year was the release of Nitrous 90 OU 1.0.1. I'm so sorry your life's so boring. Actually, I'm working on 102 right now a little bit, but got a couple other side projects to finish first. Marc, you said CoCo Fest. I think Wingnut, yours probably is getting on our show. That's got to be a highlight, right? Or is that a little late?
and getting a color computer. I mean, that's a highlight
there
in
it
and
is.
of itself.
Dan, you actually got it upgraded to 64K and that's all working now? I think you got DriveWire working, or
I've got DriveWire working, and I made a cassette cable.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Ron, what was your highlight?
Oh, being able to participate in the show, pretty much everyone that we had almost, I guess. And that's kind of fun. We spend what, four hours or so. And Ron, what about you? You're another Ron. He probably meant you. What do you like about our show?
Me?
Yeah, Mr. Wingnut.
I like the fact that you guys are so open to discussing stuff about it. And I mean, I'm not a very good talker, and
Have you learned a
appreciate the
lot?
fact that you put me on the spot, but yeah, I like it.
Have you learned a lot about our machine over the time you've been here?
Yes.
Stuff you wouldn't have picked up, unless you were reading something,
Well, to be honest, I didn't even know the color computer existed. Like I said, I grew up with the Tandy 1000, and I started joining Discord forums about Tandy, and I didn't even know what I was joining, and I started posting, and somebody told me this is a color computer forum, and I was like, oh, okay. And
the Tandy 1000's got color.
yeah. And here I am.
And now you got a CoCo, so that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been good having you on the show the last little part of the year here, so I'm glad you got over the nervousness about it.
It's not over yet, but
Rick Euland, what was your highlight?
Oh, I just kind of like getting out and meeting the people again this year. I mean, last year was sort of getting, but this year I got to go to CoCo Fest. I got to go, to the
Yeah, you're at VCF Midwest too.
VCF. I'm really looking forward next year to getting more into this stuff. So, maybe catch a couple more shows. Because I
Rick,
decided,
why don't you put Rick on your name instead of Patrick?
I don't know. I don't even know when I put that.
Oh, geez. And the other thing is, if you ever meet Rick in person, he is a tall guy, very tall.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
surprisingly tall. Here on the show, you're
Everyone's kind of the
even
same
with
level.
everybody.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I saw you. I thought, yeah, is that Rick? It has to
Well,
be
it's like,
Rick.
well, it's like Chris Hawks. Oh, Mr. Hawks, how you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chris is like 6'4", 6'3" or something. So,
Oh,
yeah. Before I get to Ken, I just want to cover a couple people in the chat and mention a few things that we mentioned. Fred's already. I did want to mention Mike Zweifel says, I got back into the CoCo and found the CoCoNation show and collecting CoCo stuff and now software and going to my first CoCo Fest since the last Rainbow Fest, which is way back in 91, I believe. I was at that one too. Wayne Campbell says, my personal highlight of the year was getting Silkaband 1 written. Unfortunately, I won't have it finished before the end of the year. That's because he's got feature creep, because he did have it done a couple of times, but he keeps adding new stuff to it. So. Hey, Mr. Ken Waters, besides your hat, what is the best thing you've had for the year in the CoCo?
Best thing I've had for the year, I think, was probably traveling to CoCo Fest with you, Curtis, because when you talked about Nitrous 9, I've never had a better sleep. Actually, seriously, though, I think going off to interview Robert Kilgus was the highlight of my year.
That was a close second of mine, and Robert was related to me, getting to experiment with the Deluxe, because that's where it came from. So yeah, I would have to say that was, out of all the interviews I've done, that was, I think, my favorite period, the entire run of interviews in the show, not just this year.
and Ken, you've had a lot of videos this year.
Yeah,
lots
on lots of different subjects.
Yeah,
yeah. He's got TRS-80 Model 1 stuff. He just uploaded one this week here with the expansion units, and of course that's kind of an ancestor of the CoCo and a video text for that matter. So
I even got into Nintendo stuff this year.
Yeah, and you did some Coleco, or was Coleco this year? Because you used the Coleco to have actually test some of the RAM chips on the
yeah, I've been using the Coleco to test the RAM chips for a while. So
now you did some CoCo videos this year too, I believe. Do you have a favorite out of those?
Oh, geez. I can't even remember which ones I did
I
this
can't
year.
either. That's why I was asking you.
Let's see. What did I
too many.
Pick it. Some of the stuff, the CoCo stuff that I picked up from VCF was pretty cool. I got that dual disc drive with the.
Oh right, yeah.
And some of those disc alignment discs or head alignment discs.
And was the McDonald collection, was that this year you got that from me? Or was that last year?
That was last year. This year I got the TRS-80 Model 1 from you this year.
Are you going to gather together a bunch of shows that you've done in the past that, show a little electrocution or smoke in your eyes?
I've actually been pretty lucky that I haven't blown that much stuff up.
Well, great. That's good.
Or at least when I have blown stuff up, I've never had the camera rolling.
Yeah, another good thing.
I'd have to leave a camera permanently off if I start doing hardware.
Well, we've already seen it, though.
Alan, how about you? I think you mentioned some of the chat that scrolled by, so I don't know if that's the official one.
Yeah, there's been a couple of fun things. I got the alien chasing you correctly in Nostromo, and that actually matches to what the original NEC version was, and that was a little tricky and weird. And I managed to hack up EOU 1.01 and get that running on the CoCo 3 FPGA. So I've managed to stay up to date. Anyway, ran into a little SST 6809 single board computer that's been a heck of a lot of fun. So it's 6809 at least. It's not exactly a CoCo, but it's got
that's a cousin.
Okay, so it's like
and don't you do contributions by listing things on the email server?
I post stuff, yeah.
Yeah, you do good. I mean, you have what summaries of our show or something on there?
Yeah, he uploads the news notes that I put on the Discord, because a lot of people that use the list aren't active on Discord. So
I think it's a good thing to do.
I just got to keep everybody in the loop. But
You
I
do a
mean,
good-
you know, there's been a
good
lot
job.
of really cool stuff going on this year, you know, and just my own personal ones have been fun, but there's been a lot of cool stuff going around in the community. Like you folks mentioned the deluxe, that was amazing. So
yeah, that finding out the semi-graphics tricks, actually, that's actually starting to take off a bit. We got another new video involving that now, so we have a few people experiment with it, and there's the Co guy right there, just signed up, Nick.
Yep.
So that's another one. Bob, what's the coolest thing you've done on the CoCo field this year? And you've done quite a bit of hardware stuff, so and even software too. So I'm kind of curious what your favorite is.
Okay, here I go. So quite a few pretty good things happened this year that I enjoyed. One was seeing the deluxe CoCo working at the fest. Obviously, that was really cool. Seeing the full screen editing, which is one thing I always kind of envied about the Commodores.
Yeah, we had third-party software you could buy for that, but I mean, a lot of people didn't know about those.
Yeah.
So,
or when I was in my childhood days when I first started, I could never afford that stuff. So
yeah.
Or if I had the money, it would have gone to a game. But other
or
than
1
that,
hour of CompuServe. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My mom was real happy with my CompuServe time. Hardware wise, my version 2 of the keyboard is a pretty good highlight, and it's one other thing I'm trying to remember here.
Well, you power your CoCos without the power supply inside.
Yeah, the
anymore,
USB
right?
power. And
well,
you did a lot of stuff. Like I'd be hard pressed to pick my favorite out of yours because there's just so much.
That's a couple years old now, so that's a last year pick, I guess.
What was it the last show you showed us your latest machine, and it was great. It had all kinds of really good goodies there.
Yeah, the
on
built-in
all
floppy
four
drives and
sides.
stuff, which is an old
That's
machine, but you've
actually
been kind of updating it.
Yeah, that was my first machine that's just been updated a little bit. So the built-in GoTech came out nice with the rotary encoder. I really like that. And right now I'm trying to get this guy working. I don't know if you can see it, but
is it a motherboard?
Can you zoom up, Mark, just so we can see what he's.
It's a CoCo 3.
Find the right mouse.
And if I can unplug the video cord here. So this one has, oops, there we go. Unfortunately, no edge connector. But
because you removed it, or because it broke?
Yeah, I removed it, and I was trying to install a 40-pin header, like an IDE socket. Oh, this is what I was going to try and show from overhead, but my other camera battery died. But basically, I cannot, and let me do this.
Plus your 1084S has a door.
I'm about to break it off there. So I can't like plug cartridges or anything into that. I only have one thing that I can connect to it. And that is, and it kind of looks a lot like Rick's board earlier.
A 20 terabyte hard drive.
It's this old IDE adapter with a HDB. It's an HDB DOS formatted hard drive. I think it's 80 gigs or 80 gigs from 1990 something. No, I can't even see the numbers. ST3120. And I paid $60 for this hard drive back in the 90s. But yeah, this little IDE IDE adapter, and on the back it looks a lot like Rick's.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Golly.
Very
Such colorful spaghetti.
Yeah.
Where's
So
the
I'm gonna
meatballs?
I'm gonna be
Table at
trying
the bottom is
to.
shorted.
This actually was in my repack, and I'm gonna go ahead and try and hook this up and get it running again.
What, your repack? Or that?
Yeah, the old repack that I showed in my, I think, second video on my channel.
Yeah, the tower case one.
Yeah, the one that you could sit on. It made a nice bench.
Cool.
Anyway,
Who's next here? I lost the view of the. Or do you have more? Anything else you wanted to mention? Or
oh, that's about it. Just happy holidays, everyone.
okay. Now it's on me, but I already mentioned the couple things that I liked. I mean, there's others I could pick too, but that was some of the ones that really stuck out for me. Marc Oberholzer, I don't know if you're well enough to pop on for a bit of a discussion on what did you like from the past year, CoCo related, on the show, in general, stuff you've done, etc. Or if you're away, give you a couple seconds. I don't see the mute coming off, so I'm guessing he's not there. Okay, Jason, your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. Well, that's hard to say. I mean, I had a great time at CoCo Fest, had a great time at VCF Midwest, but I think the biggest highlight maybe came week before last when I found out we were still making jokes about Neutroid. But seriously, yeah, I haven't done as much CoCo stuff this year, but I'm still having a blast with it. There's only so many hours in the day, but CoCo Fest is a must, and I had a blast there, and VCF was a blast, and I would want to do both again next year if they happen.
I think they both happen.
I hope so. I haven't heard anything about VCF, but we'll see.
Okay. Just before we get to Brian Weasler, because he's got a whole ton of stuff here he could talk about, including some stuff we haven't even seen yet, but I don't think he'll reveal that quite yet. I just want to get a couple more from the chat here. So Tom Eric Gunnarsson, this is kind of cool. He says, my highlight must be finding a brand new PAL CoCo 1 in Norway. Very few made it here, and a brand new one in 2024 is just crazy.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Micro Hobbyist, Frederick says, update, stay tuned for a channel update early next year, the 639 Unleashed Revisited. Of course, that's been his project on making a 609 based single board computer himself. So that's kind of a highlight there too. I'm curious to see where that all goes too. And David Kraker did post something, but since he's actually on the show, we'll just come to him and ask him shortly here. So, but next we'll go to Brian Weasler.
And that'll round up the show.
Actually, I have one more thing if I could.
Okay. Bob, we'll let you go first, and then on to Brian.
So what I was trying to remember earlier was that it was actually a good year for me just in color computers themselves, because I ended up some of the holy grail type of items that I had kind of wished I could find but never thought I would was a nice clean low usage T1 CoCo 2 and the one thing that I had really always wanted from back in even the 80s when they first came out, and I just got it the other week and I haven't had a chance to play with it, but I got a nice looking XPad.
Oh, cool.
Unfortunately, I don't have it here to show off, but
yeah, that one requires the 12 volts if I remember too, so it's kind of designed for a CoCo 1. Yeah.
And that's something I'm gonna look into, maybe just adding a USB-C power to the socket to the cartridge.
Cool.
So.
Okay, we'll switch back over to Brian. Sorry for the little bump there.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no, it's been a fun year. On the collecting side of things, I mean, it's always good to see you guys. CoCo Fest was always a lot of fun. That was it was a good year this year. Being involved with that and getting I don't want to say a record year though, but at least as far as recent history, we had a nice turnout, and there was so many people there. I didn't get to make it to any other show like I wanted to, but yeah, from a collecting standpoint, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, having the opportunity, now this would have been the year prior but going to go visit Robert Killigus myself and having the opportunity to pick up that stuff. And of course, we really didn't talk too much about it the year before or last year, but this past year, being able to bring some of that stuff to CoCo Fest, the CoCo Deluxe that you guys talked about, and being involved with that, and working with you guys on that, the pre-production board that was there, that was a lot of fun.
Which actually powered up too, which is
powered it up, and I built that display case for it, which was nice. Made it nice to kind of help display that and preserve that. So that was good. One thing I haven't got to yet though, but Robert Killigus's exotherm that he used for development, having that system with the big dual 8-inch drives and everything. I'm hoping to get some time this winter to get that thing looked over and maybe bring that to CoCo Fest next year. So that was fun. But then just all the just a lot of little discoveries that I've been making, with some of these collections that I've been getting here lately, with some of the discs and everything, and just playing around with that, kind of learning the new toy there, the MFM emulator, using that to archive discs, hard discs that is. I did get my Grease Weasel, but I haven't had a chance to do anything with that. So lots of things that I've gotten, but so plenty of things to look forward to. Getting that disk drive that I showed on the show a couple months ago, that was a lot of fun, and that's been fun playing with that. And then just some more recent stuff too as well that I'm going to hold off on a little bit there, as Curtis kind of alluded to. Got some more things that are coming around the corner here for us in January. But and then also too, just getting a space again set up here with all my stuff. So that's been a lot of fun, sorting through all that stuff and kind of getting everything back in one room. So it's been a lot of fun. So, yep.
Cool. David Craker, though, he's busy, I don't know, sanding or something. I'm not sure what he's doing there.
Yeah, I'm actually just trying to file these holes a little bigger so I can get this little perf board to fit in this case. It's one of those things where I wish I had a drill press to just drill the holes in the right spot from the beginning. So I'm just making do with what I have and having to make the holes into ovals, I guess, so I can get it in there. And I'm almost there. But yeah, highlights of the past year, definitely CoCo Fest. Being able to get there with my son, first time that Joshua was been there, that was a lot of fun. We got to, Bruce Moore and I got to talk to Jim Brain at CoCo Fest to get a bit of just personal details of some of the things he went through when he was designing that first CoCo MP3 prototype for Bruce. And so that was definitely one of my highlights at CoCo Fest. Just we could learn a ton from Jim, and that was really cool. Later in the year, I got a second CoCo 3, which I've been keeping an eye out for one for a long time. The only CoCo 3 I had was the one I had originally way back in high school. And one of my friends actually had one sitting in his family's attic for years. And he had no nostalgia attachment to it at all. He was just looking to unload it. So we worked out sort of a barter arrangement where I'm probably going to be fixing electronic things for him for a while whenever he finds it. Could take a while. But that's the CoCo 3 that's been in the little kind of banged up box on my weight bench that we've been laughing about the last few weeks, pumping iron over there.
Right.
I got from him, and it's inside the box. I haven't, showed it to you guys on the show yet, but inside the box is actually really nice. The only thing wrong with it is the keyboard doesn't work. So
there's solutions for that now. So
I have one. I ordered one for Rick a while back, and I actually have it here. But my wife's given it to me for Christmas, so I'm not supposed to know about that yet.
We didn't hear about it here at all. So.
There we go. And my last highlight is just I've gotten to know Bruce Moore a lot better this last year. It's really cool to have another CoCo enthusiast close by in the local area that we can get together and actually work in person on projects like the CoCo MP3. And it's just been a lot of fun working on that project with him this year. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and I'll be seeing you guys in just a couple weeks here for your was it the Manitoba or Winnipeg retro group? What's it called?
I believe it's the Manitoba one. Sometimes I forget what the name is. I think it's the Manitoba Retro Computer and Gaming Club is the current name.
Yeah, because they're having a meetup on Saturday, January the 4th or something.
That's right. It's the 4th. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll be reporting live from that show while you guys are running the regular show from your normal places.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing you out here.
And hopefully I'll bring my Gimme X out there and it'll be stable because lately it's been a little bit unstable.
Sounds good.
So I think I figured out it's actually the Mega Mini MPI that's having the problems here. It keeps forgetting to read the SDC, but if I just plug the SDC straight in, it seems to work okay. So I might just bring that just by itself. And how's like, I know you guys have a video we'll be covering on the news today with a bit of an update in the MP3 player, but it's progressing fairly well, or have you guys still got a bit of a stumbling block? Or
no, it's going great actually. I don't want to give too much away in the video, but we spent some time testing, and we came up with something that both of us are happy with, how it sounds and how it works. So we're definitely moving ahead. And what I'm doing right now, actually on the bench here, is building the first prototype for Bruce. So far, if I just see if I can move my camera over a little bit here, I'm using my microscope stand here for it. If you see the breadboard over there, that's what we've been working with so far.
Mark, can you zoom in? Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the circuit we've been working with so far, and I'm actually trying to solder up a proper one that Bruce can take with him and use in his software development. The goal is to have that ready for him by the time I'm done my Christmas break. It's got to be done, hopefully sooner. But yeah, it's going really well.
Cool. Well, thanks. And I think we'll get our last minute person that just joined here, Nick. What are your favorite moments in the CoCo community? Could be on the show, could be stuff you've done, stuff you've seen from other people for the past year, or most interesting, or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, Neutroid Reloaded, of course. I haven't really done as much CoCo this year as I normally would do, but project-wise, it would be well, Neutroid, even though everyone on the show hates it. And of course, the latest one, what was it called? Hero. Other than that, not really a lot this year.
Well, like I said, it doesn't have to be your stuff. Like, is there anything else you've seen in the CoCo community the past year that kind of tickled your fancy?
Oh, I only like my stuff. Oh well, the deluxe CoCo obviously was good. Actually seeing one in operating and everything, and understanding more about the actual history and development of the CoCo, learning about how the transition from a CoCo 1 and 2 to a 3, that there was actually another CoCo in between, and the whole history of what it was and how it was dropped. That was all quite interesting this year. Yep. And a major discovery in the history of the CoCo. Other than that, what can I think of? Not much.
I guess related to Hero would be the semi-graphics thing, I guess.
Well, there's that, yeah.
No.
Discovering that that trick.
Yeah, which I don't know if you caught that. I think you weren't on the show yet, but there's another video coming up in the news where somebody else has used that trick. So,
all right,
a few people have tried it now, which is good.
It's good to see people actually trying it. A feature that wasn't available. Well,
a feature that was available the whole time. We just didn't know.
Yeah, for 40 years, and suddenly there it was all along.
Well, isn't it true also that the Micro 10 is now a actual computer, and so many things have been written for it, it's no longer a doorstop. In fact,
yeah, Neutroid's taken its place, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we need another one to come up now so we can take Neutroid off that list.
Well, we had to have an MC10 show to take MC10 off the list. I don't want to have a Neutroid show.
How about Neutroid on the MC10?
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh.
Except you don't have higher semi-graphics.
You don't have
so you can't.
semi-graphics, no.
You'd have to do low res or 4-color, yeah. Okay, well, there's a couple more in the chat here I'll mention, and then we'll continue on with the show. Let's see, I got to go back here. Brian Walsh says, my 2024 highlight went to my first CoCo Fest. Looking forward to the 2025 Fest. Blanket Harris of Retro Rewind, which Rick has got a shirt on. Doesn't have anything about as far as that, the specific question, but he said, just popped in quickly to wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season. I'm sure he's still catching up on orders for all kinds of stuff there. Trina from Trina's Technobabbles popped in, so hello to Trina as well. Sixy, Kieran, the author of X-Force, says, highlights Dragon Meetup, chilled low-key as it may be. And of course, we got some pictures and stuff there. And seeing a bunch of people play Blockdown for Game On. Now, that was fun, because it's a modern Tetris, so it's quite different than the Tetris we used to play back in the 80s, I'll say that. And it takes me a while to get used to. I'm kind of, old man screaming on the hill, don't change controls on me type thing. Hey, Nick, we got a suggestion from Alan. He says, scrolling Neutroid to fit on the MC10. So you just have the screen scroll up and down as you're...
Wow. Well, you don't have the semi-graphics mode. That's the biggest thing.
Well, he's saying just leave it in SG4, but scroll the screen.
Ah, yeah, I see what he means. Yeah, that's possible.
There's a joystick on the MC10 now.
A couple of them, actually.
But will the MC10 version play itself?
Oh, I could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you get high scores, folks. So. Okay, well, I think we basically covered everybody there, so I think that covers that. If you guys want to write in some, like if you were watching this after the fact, either on YouTube or Twitch or as a podcast, if you have any suggestions of things that you really liked this past year that happened in the CoCo community, it could be a person you met, it could be a show you went to, it could be a game you got, it could be an episode, it could be a tutorial, YouTube video that somebody did, or whatever it happens to be, just email them to us and we can rattle them off on the next show on January the 4th. Oh, by the way, Rick, you and Frank in the chat just said the matching hat for your shirt, Rick, will be on its way this week to you. Are you getting a red one so you can ride it on your Harley? Or
right, there we go. Gonna have to get some snow tires on that thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're caught up on that. So do we want to just go straight into the Game On challenge?
We're just about up to an hour. About time for our first break.
Yeah, we can do that first then.
Okay.
Okay.
Break it.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCoNation show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons. AC's 8-Bit Zone, Alex Gare, Alan Huffman, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Anscombe, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederick Sagard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Gernhardt, Henry Strickland, Jason Warrens, Jim Mullis, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Patrick Euland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Richard Harding, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., William Athing. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCoNation show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Supwitcha says, your name? Garrett. Your systems? CoCo is my primary, followed by DOS-based machines, then Commodore, TI-99, etc. How do you retro? Have a fairly large CoCo collection, several CoCo 3s with CM8, Multipack, CoCo 2, CoCo 1, Tandy 1000s, Model 100, and a ton of hardware/software for all of it. Looking for? Just reliving my childhood, and now I'm buying everything I couldn't afford for my CoCo when I was a kid. Our Caxow says, "Hi, I'm Jeff B. I'm mostly a Commodore 64 guy and somewhat of compact Macintoshes, but volunteer for the Vintage Computer Federation Museum and showrunner for VCF East, so I appreciate all sorts of systems. Henry III recommended me. I'm looking to connect with others in the CoCo realm to help build a CoCo classroom at VCF East, and also attract visitors, exhibitors, and speakers to the show." Dean N says, "Greetings all. I'm also a volunteer at the Vintage Computer Federation, acting as board member and donations manager. I am leading up the upcoming CoCo classroom for VCF East in April, hoping to follow up on the success of our previous classes. I'm an aficionado of all retro computing, but have mainly focused on TRS-80, Atari and Apple, so I'm looking forward to gaining more knowledge specific to all things CoCo." The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Frederick Micro Hobbyist Sigard, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
Welcome everybody to the CoCoNation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played GoldFinder. We had a total of 11 players. We had Mike with 5650, Mark B with 10225, David Ladd 16475, Jim Rye 20825, Coconut Bob 24025, Retro Rick 25550, L. Curtis Boyle 25750, Canadian Retro Things 29100, Tasman 52575, Dr. Ted 91250, and this week's number one score belongs to Sloopy Malibu with 151,000 points. Thanks everybody that played. We'll see you again next week.
Wow. And the CoCoNation salutes Sloopy Malibu.
Salute.
That's my boy.
I guess. What the actual... What happened? How did this happen?
Well, a big upset this week. I mean, yeah, I think Sloopy is like an idiot savant when it comes to playing Load Runner games. Okay, so I did manage to find a review of this game in May 1987, Rainbow. And it goes through to talk about how there's 70 pre-programmed levels, plus you can make 236 of your own. And you can actually, if you can't make it past a level, just edit it with the level maker and make it easier.
Oh, like remove all the bad guys?
Well, you can't remove the bad guys. You always have to have at least 4 bad guys. But you could create like blocks to trap them at the beginning so they can't get out. They just sit there.
Or run in circles, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I didn't know this, but to be able to put your screen, your initials in the high score screen, which we only just started being able to use because previously it was like 650,000 you had to score to get into the high score. You have to start from level 1. So if you go in and start from a different level, you can't put your name in the high score screen.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that either.
Some differences with this one from other versions is that you do move faster than the enemies. When you pick up gold, it's deposited on the conveyor belt and you have to wait for it to leave the screen. Now, according to the reviewer, the instructions state that there's only 69 levels, but his had 70 levels, so there seems to be a bonus level in there when you get the discs. So, any rates GoldFinder.
And you can make your own.
Yeah, you can make your own, but there is like his showed 70 pre-programmed levels, and I think that's what's on the archive. But apparently, if you have the instructions, it says there's only 69 levels. And he really liked GoldFinder. One of the best games he's ever played. He liked the fact that you can modify the levels to make them easier or harder, and you can create your own screens. So, a very positive review in Rainbow. So I guess later on in the run of Rainbow, they started actually doing some reviews of stuff like Tom Mix software. Or not Tom Mix. Who made this one?
Tom Mix.
Okay. Because I don't think they were doing any third-party software early in their time, were they?
Yeah. No, they were reviewing third-party right from the get-go.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, who else would they have been reviewing? Just Tandy only?
Tandy stuff. But yeah, no, I mean the software market, especially for games like the early Spectral Associates and Mark Data products and stuff, they were reviewing those right off the hop.
Oh, okay. So I guess I just let's see. So I have a few of the more interesting levels here that we can look at. So this is level 11. Yeah, they've come up with a few interesting ways of making these levels. So as you can see, to get to the outer parts, you have to ride the elevator up and go up and down the ladders to get all the rest. And let's see, that was 11. Then, oops, what's it doing here? We just looked at that one.
I'm trying to remember, did the original Lode Runner have elevators?
No.
Don't think so, no.
I don't remember that. So there are some differences. The gameplay's a little bit different.
Absolutely. Too. Yeah, with the having to wait for everything to go up the...
Yeah, that's the critical one, because you have to keep, running around being safe while you're waiting.
So you look at this one, as you can see, it's TM for Tom Mix.
Yeah, they did that in a few other games. Dragon Slayer did that too.
And there's a lot of gold to get here, blue gold, but it's orange bricks at least. So you would have to wait a long time for all of that gold to go up those the elevators, because they go up one piece at a time.
Yeah, those little buckets on the far right side there.
So I'm wondering, actually, because the gold just collects down on the conveyor belt at the bottom here. But if you get too many and you fill this up, I wonder if you stop picking them up, or I never tried that.
I'm not good enough to get that to happen, so I wouldn't know.
No, me neither. Just something I'm curious about. And let's see, what else do we have? That was... Now here is level 34, which U of I must be a...
University of Indiana or something? I don't know.
Or Idaho or something, but obviously probably where the programmer went to university.
Yeah, could be. Now, did somebody play the game to this level to get these screenshots, or did they use the level editor?
I think, well, you can start in any level you want, so.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that's true, yeah.
I mean, Sloopy's the one that sent me these, and, the scores up here are, almost 500,000, so. I think he played this game a lot better than he let on. I think he just posted a score that gave him first place.
Yeah, that's way higher than his official score was.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he was definitely playing for a long time.
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say he was definitely playing it for a long time.
Okay.
I was sitting there watching him playing it. Yep.
This would have been on Friday?
Or Thursday?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was scoring well, like over 100,000 on all of his games that he played on Thursday. So
He was playing last night too.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was on the Game One challenge last night,
Oh,
unofficially.
okay.
So he had more time.
I think Sloopy has a problem. I think he's an addict, and he needs an intervention.
Now he's got two of them. He's got Neutroid and he's got GoldFinder. I mean, the guy's almost beyond help at this point.
Let's see, what else do we have? And one last one. Here's level 43, which just kind of looks really. Oh no, that's not level 43. Why is my sharing doing that? Click, share. There. Just I don't know, an interesting pattern.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about Load Runner, Gold Runner, GoldFinder, etc. The level design is a lot of the fun, and you can make them really, really, really easy.
Yeah. So there's lots of variety in this game, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It'd be really cool to see what levels other people could come up with, though. And the level is built right in. I mean, if you go and get the instructions off the Color Computer Archive, it's all keyboard. Use the arrow keys to move around, punch certain keys to place a person or a piece of gold or whatever.
Sometimes the controls did leave a little bit to be desired, because sometimes you had to hold the fire button down for like a second or two, like, well, not quite, but half a second before it would start digging.
Okay, I had that problem with steering it with the keyboard, masquerading as a joystick. But
well, I had that problem with the joystick. Like you'd be pushed to one side, and then you want to dig a hole, and you would push the button, and the guy would stop, and then it would be
a slight pause.
Then he'd dig.
Okay.
Which, if you're frantically doing things and being chased, that doesn't work out very well. But mostly, all in all, a pretty good game. What did everybody else think of it?
I quite like it. The differences actually make it, I think, a bit more fun for me than even Gold Runner 2 by Dave Dyes, which he published through Tomix as well, I think, and then is on his own later on, maybe. They only had, I think, 40 levels each, which had some pretty good level design too. But the gameplay is a bit different. You know, that pause, delay, waiting for the gold to go up. It's more standard Load Runner.
Yeah, definitely. It creates a new level of strategy.
Yeah,
especially if you pick up a whole bunch of gold, right? Like bang, bang, bang to get them all off the screen, then you actually have to wait quite a while for it to all go off.
Yeah, and you have to run around and keep yourself safe that entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having the level editor built into the main game was really nice. I know that people had written hacks for Gold Runner to make levels after the fact for Dave Dyes games, but none of that was built in. You had to run it separately, run the disc, then launch Gold Runner. This is all right in the game itself, so you can test your level as soon as you design it. You don't have to reload.
I do find it interesting when you reset the high scores that the high scores are actually built right into the game itself. There's not like a separate file of high scores that it loads in.
I think it actually is on the disc. As it's not a file. Like he's using sectors basically directly for the maps, and he's using sectors directly for the high score list. From what I could tell, when I went to go zero it out, that's what it looked like.
Okay.
So he's using like raw disk IO, and that's how he can fit so many levels, because you can only have, 1 granule per file. You can only fit 6 to 8 granules on a disk, so you'd only be able to do 6 to 8 levels, and you can fit 306 on a disk. So obviously he's doing it by sectors, more raw.
Okay.
So
you wouldn't be able to use the disk for anything else.
Or
is he marking those sectors busy?
I never checked to see if he's marking the sector allocate or the granule allocation table to see if he was flagging them. If he did, then that would make sure that you wouldn't actually overwrite something. But if he doesn't, it's meant to be
collision.
Just be a GoldFinder. It's like trying to do one of those schizoid discs where you have like half OS9 and half disk basic, and if you don't do the allocation maps on the two sides there, you start overwriting each other.
Oh, and 60 says that Beanstalker has a built-in level editor as well.
Yeah, that's the one Stuart Orchard, I believe, did. Kind of the Gold Runner or Load Runner for the Dragon.
Yeah,
which actually is quite a good one. And they did some pretty unique shapes of vines and stuff. Like it's sort of the Jack and the Beanstalk theme. It's I can't remember if we played that one on the. I know we covered it a little bit on the.
I don't believe we played it.
Yeah, I think we covered it on one of the Dragon specials. Some people, or maybe this the interview with Stuart, if he's the one who wrote it, if I'm remembering that right. But he said no lifts in Beanstalker though. There's none in Gold Runner either. So
That's something that's unique to this one.
yeah, yeah, it's got enough uniqueness to it. For me, it elevates the game above the standard because everything else is just trying to basically clone the original Apple II hit.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them don't play it right. The Apple, because it was keyboard driven, you can actually dig to the left or right no matter which way you're facing or running. Whereas, most of the ones that were joystick, whatever direction you're facing, that's the only way you can dig. You have to actually turn around first.
Yeah.
Because
so
of how
many
sloppy
systems
the
back then.
joystick emulation was for me, I don't know if that works on GoldFinder or not. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah. You definitely have to turn around to dig. Like,
okay. And you mentioned there's a bit of a delay, so that makes it even worse.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just a way of getting around because on the original Apple version, you had 2 separate keys for digging to the left or digging to the right. So, but when you have a 1-button joystick, you
yeah.
You
By the way,
have to...
Sixty just mentioned in the chat. He said Roy Coates did the port of did Beanstalk. The same guy who did the Manic Miner and Jet Set Willie ports to the Dragon.
Okay. So, does anybody else have any comments about it? I know, Mark B, you saw more than level 1 in this game.
I did. I found level 2. I didn't
Which
get
isn't
past
too
that.
bad. That's not too bad because I only made it to level 3.
Yeah, I think I only made 3, maybe 4 once or something. But no, sorry. What was the one with all the diagonal on the bottom going straight up?
That's level 3.
Yeah, that's as far as I got. Where's Sloopy, the expert player, when you need him? He's slacking.
It's Saturday. Nobody knows where Sloopy is on Saturdays. He's probably still sleeping.
He's trying to get road rash.
I know where he's
at. The neighbor knows, and he's not telling.
He's locked up in the basement fixing some more CoCos for.
Yeah, he's probably over in the Atari channel or the Apple channel on Discord.
No, it's a good game. I really liked it. The Rainbow Review is spot on. It's got enough uniqueness to give you a different flavor of Lode Runner with basic gameplay the same. Level editor built in is really cool. Lots of levels to play, so like lots of replayability. Yeah,
so if you're a fan of Lode Runner, then it's definitely one you should try out. And if you are a fan of Lode Runner, how come you didn't play it over the last 2 weeks? Come on, people. And the other game that we played is the exceedingly difficult Germ Warfare.
Not that hard.
Yeah, well, it is for me. I suck at that game.
That's a Chroma set game, so it's one of the ones you got on a tape magazine for dirt cheap back in the day.
Yep, and Wingnut is playing it as we speak. He's not even paying attention to the show. He's just playing games. Jeez.
He's smart. Why would you want to watch this dribble?
Yeah, so it's kind of a hybrid of Space Invaders and Galaga. Like,
yeah, because they come down.
The ships are going back and forth, but they're coming down a lot quicker than they do in Space Invaders. So,
yeah. One nice thing, I don't know, like I missed the beginning of the show, so I didn't see your dramatic reading of the instructions from the original Chroma set sheet. But it had a bunch of pokes the author listed, so you could adjust the game. You could adjust the speeds, how many aliens, how fast they come down.
I believe Mark B declined to do any reading of the instructions this week.
That's a lot.
Oh, I was hoping for a dramatic reading of the instructions.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we all tune in for, but Mark said, no, I'm not doing it this week. It's not in my contract. I'm not doing it.
Well, why isn't it in his contract?
And I had to get up at 4 o'clock on Friday morning.
And we're rewriting his contract for next year.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
tomorrow, the day job comes secondary.
Yeah.
Rick, you almost shut your camera off there when you just pounded the desk.
Well, being emphatic, I guess.
Passionate.
Anyway, if you look at up the Chroma set cover sheets are all on the Color Computer Archive, and you can get the specific issue number from my page. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but the the author did give a bunch of different pokes that you could do to adjust the parameters of the game before gameplay. Now, that's not what you want to do for the game on challenge, obviously. But if you're finding the game too hard or finding it too easy, or you just want to play with it and see what it looks like if you change some of these parameters, definitely check out the pokes. There's some pretty cool stuff in there.
So I don't know if there's much else to be said about that.
Is there a can't die poke?
I think there was. Well, you can make less aliens for one. That might help. I think there was extra men. I don't know if there's an immortality poke. I can't remember.
I guess you'll have to look it up, Mark.
Yeah, if you dramatically read it,
If
you would
you
have known
only
all
had,
this.
yeah, if you only read this stuff.
The one time he doesn't is the one time it could have helped him.
All right. Well, shall we have a look at how the live show went? And
Sure. And while you're bringing that up, I'll just mention Daddy Burrito says, "Howdy, CoCoNation people. Wishing you all a fabulous weekend and happy holidays." Trina's Technobabble. Trina said, "I picked up a CoCo 2 for someone that is not on your show today." So that's kind of a tease. Jim Rye suggested Sloopy locked himself in his trailer. And David Lord says, "I can understand people coming on late. The show starts at an ungodly early hour, ... for retired people."
I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that. He locked himself in his trailer.
I see several different colors there on the screen. I think I was playing the wrong one. I can't
we were
remember.
playing GoldFinder in all the colors.
Yeah. Well, I think the suggestion they give you, I think the bricks turn out blue, which, I mean, bricks are red. Come on.
It's either that the
And the gold's blue. What?
The gold is going to be blue, or the bricks are going to be blue. It's your choice.
And it doesn't really matter in this game.
No.
There's nothing changing color you have to keep track of. So.
No. So, yeah, we had like 6, sometimes maybe 7 people at the highlight, or maybe it was just 6. Yeah, it was just 6.
Yeah, I imagine the show had a bit less turnout because some people are busy getting ready for, Christmas and wrapping presents and stuff when they have free time. And
actually, here I think we've got 7 people. It looks like we have 8 people, but Wingnut just had 2 screens on at once. He wanted to be the center of attention for this show.
Wingnut, how many games were you playing?
I was trying to get GoldFinder running. I still can't get it running on my CoCo 2.
Ah.
Yeah, so I know, Wingnut was running into some problems with trying to get it running on the CoCo on real hardware. So,
yeah, I was going to ask because I thought I'd heard about that 2 weeks ago, and I was going to see if I had chance to patch something, but it sounded like it was working for other people, so I'm not sure what the issue is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did anybody else run it on real hardware during the show, Ken, or did you, for that matter?
I did not. I've gotten lazy in my old age. I hardly ever use real hardware now when I'm streaming.
I was running it on a CoCo 3.
Then it ran fine for you then?
Yeah. It seemed like it crashed the first time I tried it, but it might have been the SDC. Next time I exited out and just loaded it and launched it manually, and it worked fine.
Okay. Well, there's me running the level editor. I was just checking to make sure the key sequence worked in the middle.
It was either that or the other one. One of the games crashed the first time, but then they both worked after that. Weirdly.
Any tips or tricks for GoldFinder before we go past?
Oh,
GoldFinder?
yeah. I guess we didn't do that.
Yeah, I just remembered that myself.
Don't die. Be aware that you definitely have to be prepared to avoid the bad guys after you pick up all the gold, because that's not the end of the level.
Yeah, and if you're super used to load runner, that'll catch you off guard.
Yeah.
I think Sloopy was mentioning to concentrate on the left side first, so they have the most time to scroll up to the top.
Yeah, you can lead them because they'll try to take the shortest path towards you. So if you wait on one side of the ladder until they
Well, I
just
think
go
he's
past,
talking.
But
He's talking about the gold. When you pick up a gold on the left side of the screen, it forms on the left side on the conveyor belt. If you pick it up on the right side, it forms on the right side, which means it just has a much
Shorter
smaller
path.
portion to
Oh,
go
okay. So
to
if you
get
do the
to
left side first, you got all the long delays while you're still running around getting gold, and then when you get near the end, you can actually get them up the conveyor belt
Yeah.
faster. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the chat, Joel, Erie was saying, if Wingnut was running the program on DriveWire, it may not access the sectors.
Oh, right, because like I said, I don't think it's using the file system. I think it's using direct sector read writes, and if that's not supported by DriveWire, then that might have caused the problem.
Then oopsies. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there
Did
we
you say
go.
you have a CoCo SDC too yet, or?
Me, no, I'm just using DriveWire.
Okay.
Do you have a disk controller and a GoTech?
I do not. I don't believe so.
That might be something to try. Or you said you have cassette?
I have a wire, going from a computer to the cassette port, yes.
Well, GoldFinder
could
wouldn't
try-
be a cassette game.
Yeah, GoldFinder requires
Yeah,
disks, though, so
Gold
it's going to be
will- yeah.
calling disk ROM routines. Disk on
Yeah.
it specific.
That makes sense.
So I think this is just a game that you probably can't play on DriveWire.
Right.
Got
It
it.
calls discon when it wants to and does what it wants when it doesn't. So, yeah.
But yeah, actually, that makes sense because I don't think DriveWire did the low-level sector reads direct, especially if he's talking directly to the hardware. That makes perfect sense why it wouldn't work then.
So you just got to buy one of them floppy drives.
Or an SDC. SDC, I would recommend over the real
Yeah,
floppy
the
drive.
SDC is probably. Are they shipping from Canada finally? Is that done?
Is Frank still in the chat? I think he's caught up enough now.
I don't know, was Frank doing alternative shipping but they're off strike now, Canada Post, so
yeah,
it's going to take them
Okay.
a while to catch up.
Right,
Yeah.
to actually get back to
So it's gonna be
delivering.
I finally got my first mail after the strike got forced back to work on, what was that, Tuesday, Ken? I believe.
Yeah.
I got my very first mail on Friday, and it was junk mail. Like, that's what you prioritize?
Right. Get the junk mail out.
I've got checks coming in. I've got my driver's license supposed to be coming in, and they give me junk mail for ordering pizza.
Well, that's
stuff's
primarily
gonna
what
come in
gets
February.
sent through Canada Post. That's like 80% of what gets sent is junk mail. So
Yeah, you'll get your Christmas cards in February.
that's their bread and butter for
Junk mail, yep.
Anyway, so Thursday nights at 8:00 Eastern time, we do the Discord channel. We do the live game on challenge, and next week we might be doing it if enough of you show up.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. I can tell you that right now.
And
We're gonna be too busy playing with our walkie-talkies we get.
Right.
wait, we're getting walkie-talkies?
Oh, you weren't supposed to say.
We're supposed to use them at VCF or something, aren't you?
No, next to airports.
Ah.
I thought you just flew drones down in the States around airports and
Military installations
military
and the like.
installations. And
That's over New Jersey and only over New Jersey.
All right. So anyways, normally on Thursday nights, it's at 8:00 Eastern in the Discord channel, the Game On Challenge Live Discord channel. You don't have to play the game of the week. You can play any CoCo game you want, but we encourage you to play the game of the week. And
At least once.
it's just fun. We hang out, we chat, we make fun of Sloopy, and yeah. So, like I said, this Thursday or next Thursday, between Christmas and New Year. We might have a show if enough people show up. So, who wants to know what we're playing? So we're not having a show next week. So, Germ Warfare is going on for another 2 weeks, and I've chosen 2 more games that are actually going to be running for 3 weeks because of the Christmas break.
Holiday break. Yep.
So the first game.
Here we go.
Is this one.
The Christmas match.
This one is just purely for fun.
Yo, I got the game.
Because there's no score in it. So just, if people want to play this game, post a score.
Well, he could have scored the number of matches you get.
Yeah, he could have, but...
Yeah, or time. Fastest time for each level or something.
Welcome to Feature Creep.
Feature Creep on games that are already released.
How many hot dogs you can eat while playing?
Okay.
So...
How many times you can be thankful that you're not playing Neutroid?
We should. They're mentioning in the news. I will mention that this one, which is called Christmas Match, which you can get on his HIO page, which we'll be covering in the newsletter here too.
It's also
has a
available
CoCo 3
on the
version,
archive.
a CoCo 1 and 2 version, and a just released MC10 version. So you can also play it on the MC10.
Okay. So you can also get the CoCo 1 and the CoCo 1 and 2 and 3 versions on the archive.
Yeah, I don't think the MC10 one's on the archive yet. So
I haven't seen.
But they're definitely on his itch.io page, and it's free download. There's no, not even a suggested amount. It's just totally free download and have fun.
So, one of the few Christmas games that we have, and the next one is a game that was suggested to me by somebody.
Thanks for narrowing that down.
By Mike. So, if nobody likes this game, it's all Mike's fault.
Which Mike, first of all?
Yeah,
Mike Miller. Mike Miller.
I didn't know if you meant him or Zwiffle or who.
Oh, what the heck is going on with my stupid share thing? Sharing.
I think
the stuff.
the toque there is robbing your brain cells, and that's why you keep clicking.
No,
on
I keep
stuff.
clicking on the different images to share, and it shares.
You had
and
that
now
problem
it's
that problem last week.
It's my stupid computer. Just a second. I just need to.
Yeah, blame the computer.
He needs to slap it around for a bit. While you're doing that, though, this is game related, so I'll mention it. The CoCo show, which is Brent and Aaron, will be recording their next CoCo episode on tomorrow, actually, and it'll be roughly around 6 p.m. Eastern. And they'll be covering. They didn't have any Christmas games either because they covered the few that we had, in previous years. And Christmas Rush doesn't really have, or Christmas Match doesn't have real scoring or anything. So they're going to do skiing themed games, and they picked 2 that they're going to cover. So they're going to cover the skiing cartridge by Robert Kilgus, which is the 3D one that was almost a launch title on the CoCo, and they're also covering Horoscope skiing, which is actually originally from the Dragon, and before that, the Spectrum, etc. So that'll be the 2 games that they'll be covering tomorrow. So you can catch that at 6 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, on their Twitch channel, or on their YouTube channel live.
And if you want to learn some interesting information about skiing, you can watch the Robert Kilgus interview that myself and Curtis did. From the CoCo
I didn't
years.
fully understand how the complex controls worked until that interview, so it's definitely worth listening to. That's in episode 3, I think, right? Because you broke into 4.
Yeah, the CoCo years. So the early years, Terra Sadie Model 1 years, then the CoCo years, and then the wrap up.
Yeah. And Brian Weezer's actually got, copies of Robert's original notes for designing the game and stuff too.
So here is the game for the next 3 weeks. Or the other game for the next 3 weeks. Does anybody
I was going to say it's
recognize
BC
this?
Bill, but that's not it. It's
Nope.
It's a dragon game originally.
Yep.
UG?
That is it.
Saved my
So,
reputation.
Now let's see if my share does the right screen here.
Reputation?
There.
I use the term loosely.
So this is ported from the Dragon. It is available on the archive. So the idea of the game is that you have to, well, here, I'll just bring up the screen again. You're the guy up in the corner here. You're running up to try to get eggs out of the pterodactyl's nest while he's running past a skeleton. It's not a very good screenshot because he kind of blends into the skeleton. But you're grabbing eggs and taking them back to your cave down at the bottom. Meanwhile, the pterodactyl is trying to drop rocks on your head, and every now and then a dinosaur will come in and try to kill you, and you have to stick to the red paths when you're running up and down. So
now I will mention this game is not historically accurate.
Really? You mean cavemen weren't fighting pterodactyls for their eggs?
We
just
have
before the Ice
whole
Age?
industries to try to prove you wrong.
I mean, obviously the big space fortress under Antarctica, that's all true, but this is just hokey.
And here I thought the color computer games were always so historically accurate. Darn
Exactly.
I was going to say, I thought the world was flat.
it. No, it can't be flat because then there'd be cats at the edge knocking things off of it all the time.
Yeah, that's the positive proof that the world's not flat. Otherwise, there'd be nothing left. No trees, no plants. It'd all be off the edge and gone. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that gives us 3 games. So I will mention one thing in Germware for this one little tip I'll give. The aliens will always come down at the same speed when they start doing a big vertical drop, as opposed to just the scrolling back and forth. And they never change positions relative to each other. So always blast away at the bottom ones, even if you have to jump over. Use the analog joystick, which you absolutely have to use. Don't use a digital. And you have to go underneath, like in Popcorn or something, to the exact spot and just pick off the lowest ones. And that's how you survive. Because if you just start picking like right to left or left to right, unless you're following the height they're away from you, you will eventually screw yourself.
There is a version of this game for the Commodore 64.
Of which one?
Of UG.
Okay. Yeah, I think
And
it was
it
on a
looked-
couple of the machines in the UK. Probably the Spectrum and stuff too, I'm guessing.
Yes, I think it was a port from those.
Kieran would know for sure.
I'm watching the 64 version right now.
Trader. You're probably a guy that likes that Neutroid game too, aren't you?
Oh, that is interestingly, when you see the Commodore 64 version, it looks like the CoCo. It's got all the same colors, plus a few just black and yellows in there, but it's overall green, blue, red, and yellow.
Really? That's different.
I don't know if it was written on the Dragon first and then ported or what.
That's a
I'm
good
not sure.
question. Karen, if he's still in the chat, hopefully knows that, because I don't. That's not one I've gotten to revisit the launch dates properly.
Well, somebody must have really had to program the Commodore 64 not to get brown, another brown, brown, and a brown.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Earth tones, we call it. It's like 70s wallpaper or fridges or something.
Yes, or everything. Yeah.
Ken, do you have Neutroid on your Model 1?
I do not yet.
Yeah,
That's
one
actually
place
a
it's
version.
a good port too.
That's one
a good-
version that's actually good. I've played it on an emulator, and it's good.
Oh.
Oh, 60 saying in the chat, he says he only ever played on the Dragon version, loved it as a kid though, and he recalls it's made by one Chris Morris, though I assume not that one. I don't know who the other Chris Morris he's referring to is.
Well, let me just take a quick look here. UG from Rainbow Software, developer Chris Morris, publisher Softtech. Released in 1983. That's all the information I have on it.
Nick, the Commodore 64 version, does it have a copyright date on it?
I'll have to. I just closed it. I can show you a screenshot.
Oh no, just wondering if it came out later, like if it came out in the Dragon, earlier than the C64 version, or if it came out simultaneous, or maybe it came from something else.
See if I can go back and find it again.
As we mentioned before, if you want to get the Christmas match game for the MC10, it comes in a C10 file format, which will work on emulators and also on the SD, the 32 meg, or 32K RAM expansion / SD update. And then the disc image, if you get Xmas Match disc from his itch.io, that has both the CoCo 1 and 2 and the CoCo 3 versions on it. So you just need the one disc and then you can play either one.
Interesting. If you go on Wikipedia, it says that UG was a DOS game developed in 1992 based on the 1984 game Space Taxi from Commodore 64.
What?
1983, I've got. 83.
That Wikipedia is wrong
Are you
on
using
every
that AI
aspect of the
again?
game. Yeah, you can.
There
that's like
is
ChatGPT.
a DOS version of the game that was released in 1992, but
Yeah, I
Space
think that's
Taxi is a totally different game.
though.
but it's
yeah.
a much different game.
Yeah. But the Commodore 64 one was 1983.
So the same year as the Dragon one, and possibly I don't know if
Yeah,
there's a Spectrum one or
I
not.
reckon it was a conversion, but from who, I'm not sure. I wonder if there's a wiki on the old version. UGH.
No, the Spectrum version came out later. It didn't come out till 84, according to Moby Games. So the Commodore and the Dragon are the two from 83. But they might have been in a simultaneous release, for all I know.
Yeah, I'm getting the wrong wiki up here.
So they're from the same company. Softtech released both of them, and
Yeah, the one that you're looking at is very different.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, so I'll have to go check some magazine ads or something on Commodore 64 magazines and on CoCo magazines or Dragon magazines and figure out which one came first. Or if it's a simultaneous release. But the Spectrum one, it definitely says 84. So I thought maybe it originated on the Spectrum, but apparently not.
No. Like I said, the colors look very dragonish, even on the 64.
Yeah, and 60 is saying the video of the C64 UG says the same guy did it, so the same programmer did both versions.
Yeah,
So
well,
that
I'm
would make some
looking at
sense.
There's an archive here of it, and it's the same company, same creator, so.
It might be simultaneous or very close to each other. You got the assets done on one and ported it over to the other one right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. Anyway.
Cool. I'll have to kind of check into that and update my webpage on that one, I think.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Now I'm interested. I want to see if I can find which one was released first.
Yeah, and maybe you can do one of your head-to-head comparison videos too. That's something you got pretty good at doing there, and there's a perfect opportunity. Do you have a Spectrum emulator too? Or?
Yeah, I do. Somewhere.
The Amigos can definitely help you with that. They have a whole Spectrum show, so they're quite familiar.
All right. Well, shall we do some news? Snoozy newsy time so I can have my lunch and go to sleep?
Yeah, I'll do the game news because there's not that much, honestly, and we've kind of covered some of it already. And then maybe take a commercial break before I hit the main news.
Nap time. Get your pillows ready.
My reputation precedes me.
Well, this
Can't go to sleep right now because I'm driving.
That's what the cruise control's for.
Yeah.
This car don't have cruise control.
It looks like you're coming.
You should have to use the manual cruise control. That's where you tie a scarf to the steering wheel to the back of the headrest, and then you just jolt a brick or something on the accelerator, and then you just have a nap.
Broomstick works good.
That sounds big.
But it looks like he's just coming into re-entry. This is an important part.
I still need to fix that background picture.
Yeah, he's driving Elon Musk's car right now, I think.
Okay,
Now
so
control the Major Tom.
game on. Here we go.
Hey, so we were just talking about this, the Christmas match game. For those of you who want to participate in the Game On Challenge, or if you just want a Christmas themed game to have in your CoCo to play over the holiday season, Paul did release the MC10 version here about midweek this week. And you can either pick up the MC10 C10 version, which will work with various MC10 emulators, or an actual MC10. And you can also get the CoCo versions, which is combine the CoCo 1.2 version and the CoCo 3 version on the same disk image. You just download the one and then you have it for both. And as you can see some of the screenshots he's got here, this is the CoCo 3 version up at the top. And I should mention this definitely gets a bigger play field as you progress through levels. This is on the easiest, and then it starts adding in more and more tiles, so it gets a bit harder to remember them all. And I think we showed last week the screenshots here from the CoCo 1 and 2 version, which looks identical to the MC10 version. Now, the MC10 version's got a nice little bit to it, which I'll show you here.
So quick, Paul, add a score.
The one thing that is a bit more unique to this one is he's actually using Simon's 4-voice music player for the 1-bit sound on the MC10. So it actually plays the little Christmas jingle at the beginning in multi-voice on the MC10. Now, it does sound a bit scratchy because, of course, it doesn't have an actual DAC. It's just 1-bit sound like an Apple II would have. But it does crank out some multi-voice stuff there. So I don't know what volume level this is going to be at, but hopefully it's not too bad. And I assume keyboard controls for moving the glove.
Was that the music?
Yep.
It sounded like it was sounded crunchy.
Yeah.
Very crunchy.
Yeah, well, 4-voice on a 1-bit sound port, it's not going to be great. But it's recognizable, and it does have the extra tone. So there's a bit of gameplay. You can see what the graphics look like on the MC10. Like I said, the CoCo 1 and 2 version looks identical.
Yeah.
Hey, go grab it for free on his itch.io page if you want to get the specific link to it. If you can't read the type here on the top of my browser window, you can always go into our Discord, go into the news section under the CoCoNation subsection type thing, and in the show notes, I have a direct link to all of the stories we cover on the news here, including where to get this game. Next up, now, I don't know how long this page has been up, but I think it was pointed out to me by, who was that? Was that you, Alan? If Alan's still on here.
Yeah, that was probably me.
Okay. So anyway, it's a blog post interviewing Peter Jennings, who was a creator of Micro Chess, which is the very first commercial chess program on any home computer ever, which he did back in the Kim 1 days. So this is way before even the Tier City Model 1. And then he ended up porting it to a ton of other machines, and he actually quit his day job to sell this because it was doing so successful. And this is kind of an interview with him going through the entire history of it. I have seen another write-up by a different author from years previous, but this actually gets into some more detail. So it was actually quite an interesting read. He also did Micro Checkers. So both of those Micro Chess and Micro Checkers are actually launch titles for the CoCo 1, one of the original 6 cartridges that came out. And he does mention the CoCo version in here. He mentioned that he ported it, I think, from was it the Apple II version, I think, to the CoCo, and then he kind of modified it to fit on a 4K cartridge.
So it's not the newscaster,
huh? No. Here's the original, punch card stuff he was working with. That's how far back this goes. And then going into Kim 1, which just, had a keypad like this, didn't even have a typewriter keyboard hooked up to it. Here's the entire source code for the original version, just the hex codes.
For a second,
the CoCo version is actually version 2, so that's slightly improved algorithm.
Yeah, for a second there, the keypad almost looked like the one on the Apollo.
It's a hex pad.
The disc.
Yeah, just hex pad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And your LED readout, what address you're running at, what's the data byte say?
Oh, well, look at that big lie there.
Right. Micro Chess being pounded out on that thing.
Yeah.
6502 power, it says.
Did that card read from the top down or from left to right, or?
The punch card?
Yeah.
This case left to right, I think.
Yeah, left to right. Each column is a
well, I was speaking of the top one, or the one up further. Where was it? No, I guess it's down further.
That's the only punch card I remember seeing.
No, there was a list that.
That's the listing. That's the source code or the assembly language listing for 6502.
So it would read top down. Right?
16 bytes across by however many lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's his original product announcements from 76 for the Kim 1. And of course, it was a launch, or not a launch but it was also available for the Tier City, the PET, and the Apple II as well. So it was quite a many different platforms. Here's actually an ad with screenshots for the Holy Trinity, Tier City Model 1, which is just called the Tier City back then, the PET version, and the Apple II version.
Didn't Tandy sell microchess for the TRS-80?
I believe they did. He also sold it directly, I think, at the beginning himself, and then Tandy kind of picked it up, just like they did. They kind of picked up the CoCo version ahead of time because they knew it was coming out, so he would have been one of the people with a prototype.
Wasn't there a micro chess for the MC10?
Well, it's right there on the screen right now. I guess microchess was the last one I wrote for the Apple II. Microchess for the CoCo has the same engine, which I translated for 6809.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I played that pretty recently, actually.
You mean for the release of this article?
I see the real power of microchess is listed right there. It was beatable. Unlike any chess program you can play today, which you are not going to beat. Trust me.
In other words, it played a bad game of chess.
Yeah, but it was fun.
But good enough to beat a beginner, which it did to me all the time because I suck at chess. It let you get up to a certain level, then you'd have to get a better one like Cyrus or something like that. But there's a PET one using PET ski graphics. Here's the Apple II one using actual high-res graphics.
Apple II, yeah.
The CoCo version was kind of using a low res because they wanted to fit it in 4K, and like a high res screen takes more than 4K, and you probably need some RAM for keeping track of moves and stuff too. So they did I think a 64 by 64 4-color screen or something like that, if I remember, joystick or keyboard controls. But if you're wanting, sorry, go ahead.
The color fringing you see on the Apple version there, it's got if you look at the text,
the purple and the green, the orange,
those
blue.
vertical lines. That's taken off a PAL Apple, obviously. That's exactly what artifacting looked like on a PAL CoCo.
Oh, the Apple artifact also.
Yeah, they artifact the same as the CoCo did actually.
Yeah, so that's a PAL Apple then.
I thought it was slightly different. I thought it was like a reddish, like a greenish color on NTSC. But it's been a long
red
time
and
since
blue
I
and
used
the
it.
green and purple, which were official ones because you did that color burst 1 bit of the high res byte, 7 bits per pixels, and 1 bit was which color set between the two artifacts.
Oh, that's right. They could do that. Yeah, so it might have been the other way around. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it's got a pretty good interview with Jennings. Talking about the development of it, especially off the original, how he got interested in getting the computers in the first place. So it kind of goes into his early history. And I found it quite interesting. The one really thing I found interesting about it is the company that he was originally writing it for was Micro-Ware, which of course is slightly different than Microware one word that OS 9 was done. Pretty close to the same time because I mean, Microware started for the 6800 doing RT68 around 78 or 79 themselves, so it was not too far later. But the dash made all the difference apparently.
It's an interesting web page, though.
Yeah, no, I found it quite interesting actually. I read the whole thing, so thanks Alan for finding that because I'd seen a previous one, but it didn't go to this kind of detail.
It's good
if you want some history.
It's good when they document their old programs like that.
Yep. There's the actual Kim 1 board. I don't know if any of you guys had that back in the day, but
I did.
I read all the magazine articles about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think wasn't the Altair more popular in North America than the Kim 1?
I think so.
Well, the Kim 1 was one of those kits that you could actually purchase and use. The Altair was one of those things that like doctors and anesthesiologists played with. So regular people.
Yeah, now we just have our news section for anesthesiology now. It just puts everybody to sleep. So
How dare you interrupt nap time?
More effective.
Daddy Burrito says in the chat, he says, Cyrus was beatable too if you put it in stupid mode. I beat it once and felt like Superman, but then I realized it was on the dumbest setting. That would be my experience playing chess. Next up, Jim Gary did a port of a program for the MC10 called Rubik's. You can probably take a guess what that's based on. This was originally written by Roger Safford and published as a type-in listing for CompuColor 2 computer from its magazine called Color Q, and this is the June-July 1982 issue. This program, as you can see by the menu, has built-in help and stuff, but it lets you like remix up the cubes so you can solve it. But you can both play it yourself and try to solve it yourself, or you can tell it to solve itself. So it actually has both options, and I'd probably take the solve itself because I don't remember any of the moves anymore to get it done. I used to be pretty good at it. I could actually get one done in about a minute and a half, but I've completely lost whatever skill I had to that. I thought it was a rather interesting use of the semi-graphics because, of course, the MC10 in BASIC doesn't support high-res graphics modes that the MC10 technically can, up to like P mode 2 and 1. So because your colors are, you can pick a 2x2 pixels per block per character cell, and they have to be black plus one other color, and that's why they have these black dividers kind of between them. But it actually doesn't look too bad because the black actually serves as dividers to show you where the different rotation areas are. So actually, it looks pretty good actually.
For low-res Rubik's displays, yeah.
Yep.
This is
and you can see
awesome.
here, you can move the keys to adjust which one, and then you can move it around, and it shows you, two different views of it. This is more for the audio listeners who can't see this, but two different views of opposite sides of the cube. So one facing from the back, one facing from the front. So you can kind of see, how the rotation is going to affect it. I mean, most of us here are old enough to remember the Rubik's Cube when it first came out. It was like Cabbage Patch dolls. It was just hugely popular everywhere. Everybody had one. And then they started bringing out ones with more than 3 rows, and then they brought out ones that were round and broke apart too easily. And was anybody here really into the Rubik's Cube? I was into it for about a month or two, really into it, and then I kind of got off of it. But anybody else?
There were 2 ways I could solve a Rubik's Cube. Either totally disassemble it and reassemble it, or peel off all the stickers and put them back on in the right order.
Well, if you're a professional, yeah, you turned the top a quarter of a turn, and then you could pop the, yeah.
I stopped being interested when a 12-year-old did it in no time at all.
Right.
Like I said, I used to be able to solve it in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes on average, but that was using one of those books that explained how to do it. And you see this pattern, do this, twist this twice and this once, and then it explains step by step. If you had to get it to certain easy patterns that were fairly easy to get to, and then you followed the instructions, and that's how I got good at it. I never would have figured that out on my own. Anyway, I believe Jim actually has this available on his Google Drive, which I'm not going to show you because he'll just try to download it on me. But if you go into the show notes on the Discord, I have a direct link to there, so you can actually download it, try it on your MC10, along with the new version of Christmas Match. Next up after that, my last one for the game section here. So this is a UK retro games podcast called Retro Asylum, and a fairly large one. They have over 3,000 subscribers. And basically what they're doing for the Christmas episode here in episode 343 is the 8-Bit Wars Budget Edition. So they have a variety of people who come from different camps. They have a C64 camp, they have a Spectrum camp, a BBC Micro camp. They even have an American thrown in there for good measure. And basically, they went and selected 170 games, and there were some Dragon stuff on the original selection, but then they kind of pared it down. What they wanted to do is to review a certain selection of games that they all kind of agreed upon that were cross-platform on those 3 basic platforms, and had to be budget titles. Like we've seen the Pocket Money software and stuff. These were titles like sold for like £2 or £3, which is like $4 to $5 US at the time. And I'll play a little clip here because there's a clip from the American talking about, because they asked him, did you guys have a budget thing in North America? And we didn't really. I mean, you might get occasional games like, I know Spectral sold their Color Zap because it was such a simple arcade game. They sold it for $10 instead of their normal 21 early on. And there's a few others, I think, that did that too. Novasoft, of course, by Tom Mix, they tried to make that a bit cheaper. So instead of being $30 a game, it was like 18. But that's not, budget like they're talking about. The closest I can think of would have been the tape magazines, either like Rainbow on tape or disc, or Chromaset or T&D, because those you would get an issue and you paid $5 or $6 per tape, or if you bought for a year, it might work out to be like $3.50 or $4 a tape. and you'd usually get at least one, if not 2 or 3 games. Now, some of them might be basic and not, high end stuff, but most of them gave you at least one ML game per issue. And we played a couple of them on there, like some of the Andrew Perskursky ones. Mike Snyder, of course, when we had an interview with him, his were sold through T&D. So there was something like that, but those aren't dedicated games, and they were usually smaller versions of games, except for maybe some older arcade clones. So we didn't really have this where you had companies selling commercial grade games for like $3. So that was fun and kind of interesting. But I'll fast forward to.
Is that why Santa doesn't have a beard? Budget?
That might be British Santa. I don't know. Let's see if I can find it here.
Mark.
Yeah, do you know,
Yeah,
can I also ask Mark a question, actually? Mark,
Yeah, let's hear it, Chris.
Were budget games a thing in the States in the 80s?
Absolutely not. I should say that. I shouldn't say that, but no, as far as I can remember and recall, we didn't have a budget section. I mean, paying £2 for a game or a couple, few dollars, everything. You talked about the Dragon 64, and we had the color computer, the Tandy.
Yeah, the
those were $30 discs and cassettes. That's how expensive those were back in the day. We had nothing like what you guys experienced. And so what I was going to start off with is I'm excited because being able to experience these games, I get really frustrated really quick when games are really stupid, like a couple of these are on some of the systems. I'm just like,
anyway, it's kind of cool that he actually brought up the CoCo and the Dragon specifically, because he could have picked anything sold in North America at the time. So I don't know if he actually has a background with the CoCo himself. I know some of the people that they mentioned earlier in the show did use Dragons back in the day, but it wasn't really known as a hot gaming machine per se. It was more of a programmer's machine. I mean, I had some good games too. Obviously, we played some of them, but yeah, we never really had the budget thing. And I don't know if that was just because the economy in Europe was far worse than North America. And he mentioned like $30 a game. I mean, I've seen him like going through old Rainbow ads and actually responded to them in their comments here. Spectral had a whole bunch of games for like $22, so it's not quite that bad. And of course, you go to the other end of the spectrum, you can actually pick up like a Radio Shack cartridge game. Sometimes those were like 40. And once you take inflation, that's like $80 to $100 a game nowadays is what you would have paid for like skiing or Project Nebula or something like that. And I think we kind of forget how expensive that was and probably why piracy was so rampant. By the way, the entire thing, they go through multiple games, they actually compare them, and they're quite funny because, of course, they're doing the old schoolyard, 8-bit wars, right? So they're arguing with each other as to why your version of the game sucks and our version's better, and there's a lot of fun in there, and they have a lot of fun with the whole thing. So I quite liked it. It was a good listen. I actually didn't listen just to the CoCo part. I listened to the whole thing. That's all I got for the Game On News. And I just want to quickly cover a couple of things in the chat here. Davey Mitchell was asking, was Cyrus the Dragon Data chess cartridge? Cyrus was originally done on the Dragon. Eventually, Tandy got rights and sold it here in North America a good year or two later after the Dragon, because the Dragon, I think it was a launch title from Dragon Data themselves, if I remember. And 60 says, yes, it was a cartridge. Jim Gary said, thanks for showing my latest port. You're welcome. 8-bits in the basement. Budget games were great. I'm surprised that they didn't exist in the US or Canada. I bought so many titles for C64 for $3.99 in real life pounds. Then in the late 80s, loads of mags gave games for free. Yeah, like I said, the magazine games probably are the closest to it. I mean, Rainbow did occasionally publish some decent machine language games like Zonks or what's that other one that's got 50? It's a platformer with 50 levels we've played before in the challenge. There's a few. There's some good ones there. Color Computer News had a few good ones too that were ML or hybrid basic ML games. But as far as getting a whole bunch of titles like that, no, we didn't really get that. Okay, so let's go switch. Did you want to do the news intro, or should I just go straight into the news, Mark?
Yeah, we'll do the news intro.
Okay.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins. No matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L. Curtis Boyle.
Okay. So first off, I'll go through some of the upcoming events here. And actually, one is tonight. Unfortunately, they didn't announce this until after our show last weekend, so I couldn't talk to you about it then because I didn't know it was happening. But the Trash Talk is doing their last show of the year, too, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. And that'll be episode number 42. I don't really have anything to present this time, so I don't know if I'll be coming on the show like I did last time. I'll probably just be in the chat. Unless they need somebody to help plug the virtual fest, because some of their own, Tier 80 black and white models are also doing presentations there. So I'm assuming they'll cover that on their own. But if you guys want to catch that, that'll be live on YouTube at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. Next up after that is the one that David Craker and I were talking about earlier. Him, myself, and Bruce Moore are all planning to attend this. That's January the 4th, and that's, of course, when you guys will be coming back for the show, so we'll try to report live from there if we can, at the Fort Rouge Leisure Center, and it's their winter meetup for their retro, it's the Manitoba Retro Computer and Gaming Club, and I'll be bringing my CoCo 3 with the Gimme X, hopefully, and SDC, maybe show off stuff like Fractals running at 3 megahertz, and, of course, they'll be working on their MP3 stuff. Is Dave still on the call, or is he? Oh, yeah, he's still on the call.
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything about the group or the meetup, or what kind of, how these meetups are set up as, since I've never been to one?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of shown them on the show a couple times before. I think the last time we met up was from exactly the same location. If you remember the pottery display in the hallway.
Oh, right. Yep.
So, yeah, it's in a sort of a community center complex. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on outside the room, but we have a meeting room booked that's just for our show. They'll set up a bunch of tables around, or we can set up our machines. If anyone is planning to come and bring a machine, it's best to let Doug know inside of our Facebook group. And if anyone needs to get hooked up with that, let me know. I can get you hooked in, just to make sure we have enough table space for everybody. The room, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to outgrow it after a while. It's not huge, but it is a really nice space otherwise. We've got a nice big flat screen TV on one wall where we can do some presentations and such. And we do have a Radio Shack theme for our next meetup. And I know one of the plans for that TV is to put up the Radio Shack catalog website. And so you have kind of an interactive spot where you can page through the Radio Shack catalog on a big screen, and other people can watch kind of while one person kind of scrolls through the catalog. I'm sure we'll see a lot of TRS-80 machines there as well. I know one of the guys from the group is bringing a TRS-80 Model 1. Curtis, myself, will definitely be bringing CoCos. I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce is going to drop in with a CoCo. I'm hoping he does anyways. He often has kind of Saturdays are often busy for him, so I don't know if he'll be able to, but it'd be nice if he could. So I think we'll have a good selection of CoCo stuff, but there's also a lot of other things people bring out too. We've got some vintage game systems people bring by. I brought a Sega Master System at the last meetup. We've seen a TurboGrafx 16, some old ColecoVisions and things like that. We've got a bunch of Commodore computers that always show up. They're at every kind of retro thing because there's so many of them out there. And some of the guys who have the Commodores are really into the latest stuff with them. So if you want to know of what's going on with modern enhancements for the Commodore computers, it's a great meetup to come to see some of that. We had a really unique Commodore machine last time, which had been moved into, it was some sort of a PC case, but it was a really odd PC case that one of the guys had just found in the back lane in Winnipeg, like it had been thrown out type of thing years ago. And he had to kind of do a lot of work to get it working again. So that's one of the really cool machines we've had. We've got a guy who brought in, I believe it was a Kim computer as well. Well, that's one of the older machines we've had, and I forget what the number was that came after it. Some of you guys might know. But that was kind of a neat machine as well. So lots of variety. We have an XEGS system, some Atari 8-bit computers, tons of stuff. And if you're into these kind of things, this is sort of like a very small version of a VCF kind of show, but it's very small compared to those, of course.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to it. It'll be my first going to a retro show in Canada that I've ever attended, really. I mean, I remember a few we did at, at the mall back when the CoCo was being sold and Radio Shack helped sponsor it, but not a retro show.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you there too. It'll be awesome.
Yeah,
and
hopefully we
there's
don't
a
get
few
any
people
freezing rain
listening.
before then. That's my one worry.
Yeah, hopefully not.
That's a long drive to do that.
Yeah, we've had our share of that already here so far. So
yeah, we've had a bit of it too. Luckily, it snowed after that and kind of coated it back up a bit.
yeah, right now we're in not a bad place for driving, but it's been a little iffy sometimes this winter.
Yeah.
But hopefully there's a few people listening as well who aren't too far away from Winnipeg and might be able to make it out. People are welcome to drop by. We'd love to see you.
Cool. Next up after that, on January the 18th in Fort Worth, I believe, is the meetup. What is it called here? Candy Showcase is the person that originally posted this. His real name's Ed on the Taylor City Discord. And if you've watched any of the stuff where we've covered kind of the history of video techs, going back to the AgVision and even previous to that with the original Model 1 case with a numeric keypad, he's the guy that runs that main site. And he's actually got some of the real hardware. So he's there's the Winter Retro Computing Meetup on Saturday, January 18th from noon till 4 p.m. And this is sponsored by the Dallas-Fort Worth Retro Computing and Vintage Computing Collective of North Texas. Takes place at the Bingo Bingo in Grand Prairie. And they're actually having a concession stand open, so you can actually help support the people that are donating the space for the meetup by go buying something to eat while you're there. Which actually sounds like a pretty cool idea. Free event, no charge for attendance. I don't believe, David, there's any charge on the Winnipeg one either, is there? Nope, he must have stepped away. I'll get back to him maybe. All right. Meeting from. We encourage you to bring something for show and tell. It could be a new addition to your collection or a favorite system you've showcased before. Don't be shy. We love seeing the unique treasures our community has to offer. And if you're not quite ready to exhibit, no worries. Just bring yourself and your passion for retro computing. As on prior meetups, you are welcome to bring your items for swap, sale, or giveaway. So that also happens at this, not just the displays. However, you must ensure that all items are removed from the venue at the end of the meetup. So you can't take your old printers and just dump them off. We cannot leave behind boxes of donation items. You're welcome to bring your family. If you bring young children, please keep an eye on them. When parking, please be careful to observe the parking lot markings and only park in marked parking spaces. Anyway, they've actually got a website set up that kind of explains here, and they got some pictures from some of the previous meetups, and you can see like there's an old Apple system, I think that is, or a lease or something, I can't tell.
Apple III.
Right. Oh yeah, the building drive in the big case. Sort of an PC of some sort there. I don't even know what that is. Is that an Osborne? No. I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's strange. Yes.
Yeah.
There will be a little bit of everything there.
Is this one you've attended before, Bob, yourself?
I've been there once. I missed a couple of them. Like the last time they had one, I was wanting to go, but I was actually at NAB in Las Vegas that weekend. So.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So do you think you'll be able to make this one, or do you have plans to? Or?
Yeah, I think I will. And based on the timing, I think I should be able to do like a live walkthrough.
Cool.
Cool. That's only 40 miles on the freeway. What the hell? Those are Texas miles. That's nothing.
For me, it's about 10 miles from home or so.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were that far south. Oh, well, never mind.
Anyway, so there's a lot of these little smaller meetups going on in January, which is kind of cool. Just a couple weeks apart and, completely opposite ends of the continent, just about. Next up after that, of course, is the virtual Tandy Retro Show. So this is not just CoCo stuff. This is involving the Trash Talkers, actually, as well, for doing other models. We officially added myself, Paul Fiscarelli, and Brian Weisler as being one of the presenters. We're going to have a 2-hour slot right after the CoCoNation show ends on January 25th for ours, but I believe Mark Overhoser, if you're still around and awake, I believe you had some updates for further schedule of presenters. No, he might have had to step away. I know he's feeling ill, so hopefully he's not away for that reason. Okay, well, we'll come back to him if he pops on. Next after that, we have VCF SoCal, Southern California, February 15th and 16th at the Hotel Farah in Orange, California, and that's the same place it was last year. There was corporate representation last year, including showing some of the early prototypes of the FujiNet project for it. I'm assuming they will be there again with some updates. I know they're working on the direct bus version, which will be a cartridge and doesn't involve the bitbanger whatsoever. Henry probably might have some more details on that if he's still on the call too.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So have you got any updates on that? I did see that their little newsletter thing mentioned that they've got that kind of prototyped already or something.
Yeah, it's been prototyped and they've been working out some of the kinks and bugs. I'm getting my board here pretty soon. I think Ben just sent it and put it in the mail maybe yesterday or something like that. Got all the parts I need to build one up. I'm going to build one up, see what happens with the firmware, and see if I can't figure out how to make the thing work.
Cool. Well, I definitely want some updates from you on that one.
Oh, absolutely. Expect videos too.
Yeah. Next up after that is VCF East, and since Henry's here, we'll ask about that too, because he's directly involved in organizing the classes, because they're kind of doing a Tier 80 CoCo theme, with a lot of the classes being CoCo related on programming basic and some machine language and stuff. And I know you were supposed to be with a meeting with some of the guys, and they were getting some other volunteers to contribute either equipment to use during this time or actually help teach or whatever. How has that been going, and any updates on that?
Well, we're now at the holiday hiatus. We got a little bit earlier start than we did last year, apparently, from what I was told. But right now we're still in the process of getting together volunteers. We can definitely use classroom volunteers. We can definitely use technical volunteers. The other thing that we're looking at using is the CoCo Pi project as our primary computer lab computing platform for the classroom itself. We will have real hardware on display and available to play with, but as far as like the classroom desks, we want to try and go with the CoCo Pi for stability and also quality of life reasons, if nothing else.
Yeah, a lot easier to hook up to projectors and stuff too, I'd imagine, with good quality.
Yeah, exactly. And all the interconnects are apparently already mature in that project. I think his name's Dave. He's going to be checking that out and making sure it works for us. And as always, if you're interested in volunteering for that, if you're interested in helping out the classroom, or whether it be as an instructor or whether it be just somebody who's doing technical stuff, please feel free to drop me a line either in Discord, on my website, or email me directly at henry@thebreakkey.com.
Okay, well, thanks for the update. I know Sloopy's going to this one as well. He's be more on the hardware representation side. Jim Brain usually goes to this as well, I believe, or
I will be there as well.
Oh, cool. And we'll hopefully get somebody to come and swing by and give us a direct kind of walkthrough type thing. And I wouldn't mind catching one of the CoCo classes at least for 5-10 minutes just to see what they're like too. Would they be okay with us streaming that a little bit, Henry? Or
I don't see any problem with that. You want to check with the leadership to make sure that that's all right. But as long as you're not getting in the way of anything, it should be fine.
Okay. I know they usually post them up afterwards, but it's kind of cool to get a bit of a live feel for it as well from the audience perspective.
Absolutely.
Next one after that, of course, is the big kahuna, CoCo Fest. The not last one, but the 33rd annual. And that is happening May 2nd to 3rd, which is a day change where we're shifting a day earlier to give people some time to head back on Sunday with various flights to various parts all over the world to, not have to like kind of leave early in the morning and shut down your table or miss some, presentations and stuff. So that basically will be running on Friday and Saturday. And I think you can start setting up Thursday evening. And the whole special hotel rate, $122 a night for 2 queens or 1 king size bed, is already in action if you give the promo code, which is G30. And that's at the Holiday Inn and Suites in Carroll Stream in Illinois, in the Chicago area. Table bookings have actually been delayed from January 1st to February 1st because they're doing some updates. I believe Randy Weaver's doing some updates on the underlying programming and stuff that actually has all that online. So he's giving himself enough time to get it up and running and tested properly. And this is always a great time. We had, the best attendance we've probably had in over a decade this last year. Sounds like we're going to probably beat that this year. And there'll be some really cool stuff to show off too. So I know Brian Weasler and a few of us have got a few things planned. And hopefully I'll have another EOE release by then too.
This is going to be about the time we move up to VCF's venue.
Well, we've been kind of following them because they were at Heron Point originally, and then we went there, and they were at the place we're at now. As we grow bigger, and as they went bigger, you just have to keep going to bigger and bigger venues. Pretty soon we'll be doing McCormick. No, I'm just kidding. Next one after that is VCF Southwest in Texas, June 20th to 22nd at the Davidson Gundai Alumni Center at the University of Texas in Dallas. Tables and tickets will be going on sale in January, so just a few short weeks. It's $20 per adult, $25 if you wait to buy it at the door, $10 for student, $15 at the door. Children under 17 and under are free with an accompanying adult. If you want to get a table, they're $50. This is where a lot of the Tandy alumni are, so you might run into some of the people that helped design the CoCo and the other Terrace 80s and get some stories and talk to them. This is one I'll be attending for the first time ever. Brian Weasler and I will be going down, so we'll hopefully we meet Marc Siegel. And Mark, you've been there last year, I think.
Yes, I was.
Now, are you exhibiting or are you just attending again this year?
Just attending.
Okay. I think Brendan Donnie, he's usually at this one too because he's an actual vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one. I just wish it wasn't summer in Texas because I have a feeling it's going to be hot.
Everyone wishes it wasn't summer in Texas.
For a Canadian, yes, I think it would be hot.
We're talking higher than 100 degrees, I'm presuming.
No, I don't remember. I didn't remember it being all that hot. Plus, it's all indoors, or mostly indoors.
Right, you need to be indoors. The problem is there's the south wind and high humidity, so the heat is very effective when there is.
Yeah, it's not like Las Vegas in summer, which is a dry heat, which I've
right. No, this isn't good and wet, and you sweat, you stay wet, and it's great.
Yep. Well, they had a parking garage like right next door building, so there wasn't a lot. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of outdoor time you needed to do. I mean, just go from building to building and then hitting the food trucks. So other than that, it's all indoors.
Now, is it the hotels? Is it on campus or is it off campus? You have to kind of drive to the facility.
It was off campus, but I had a Holiday Inn that was about 2 miles away.
Okay.
So, I mean, being a major university, there's a lot of stuff around there.
Yeah, I mean, we're driving down anyway, so we'll have a vehicle. So I'll be meeting up with Brian Weasler about halfway down, and then we'll carpool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be the very first VCF of any sort I've actually attended.
Oh, nice.
And the last one I have is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Obviously, by the name, you can tell this is much more gaming oriented than general, home computers, etc. This runs from October 17th to 19th, and that's about a month earlier than last year. This is one that Tim and AJ have been to, as well as some other people in the CoCo community have been to. And Ken, is this one you're planning on attending this year or next year?
I have no idea.
Too far ahead to tell?
Way too far ahead to tell.
But we've seen some videos and stuff from Tim and AJ. I don't know if they're planning on exhibiting this year. They weren't there last year. I think it was 2 years ago or something that they were there and actually had a booth to promote their YouTube channel. But it looked like a lot of fun. And that's all I've got for there. Mark Oberhoser, are you around? Okay, I will keep that one tab open just in case. I don't know what the updates he had as far as the schedules for speakers at the virtual Tandy Retro Show on January 25th are. So on to the regular news. You can have your pillows at the ready. Okay, we should be seeing Coco Town's actual website, not his YouTube channel this time. So we covered one of the last videos he did was assembly language optimizations. And we gave some examples and detailed explanations of some things that surprised him as far as optimizations go. And he had mentioned that he'd gotten some feedback that some people, for this type of stuff, they much prefer to learn it with something you can actually read as opposed to having to watch or listen to a video or audio. And he says he's kind of that way himself. So we did that, but he also changed some of the sample programs to be a bit more specific here and, fully writes it out. So you can actually go through and watch the original video. He's got a link to it here. And he's got to divide into 3 different pages. He's got some unsurprising ones, and he gets into surprising optimizations with sample code, cycle counts, that kind of stuff. I think there was even one of these I didn't know before either too, which is kind of nice. You just could somebody figured out something that just never thought of and go, oh, that's obvious. And of course, it's done with his traditional sense of humor the whole way through, which is one of the best parts of his YouTube channel. So if you're an assembly language programmer that's, maybe familiar with, say, a 6502 or a Z80 or something, but not that familiar with 6809, you want to kind of get your start into it here. This would be a good thing because he's kind of just gotten back into doing 6809 assembly language after 40 years himself for his current, Moon Patrol style game project. And he's been using a lot of these techniques, from suggestions from a variety of people responding to his videos. And that's where this whole video and these sets of 3 web pages here actually was based on. But there's some pretty cool stuff in there, especially if you're new to 6809. Some of it may not be that obvious. And here's David Craker and Bruce Moore talking about the MP3 R&D audio amp testing. I don't know if David's kicking around, if he wants me to play a certain part of the clip, kind of give people a feel, or just play the beginning a little bit and then cut it off. What would you suggest, David?
I am here, and I'm open to whatever you would like to do. I don't think maybe skip the first minute or so and jump into some of the testing, I would say.
I remember you had a problem with the voltage. Like you were looking at the voltage and you were having the voltage was the same. Like I remember you had an issue there.
Yeah, and we talk exactly about that in the video. That's probably about in the middle of the video where we talk about that. So
you want to skip around in the middle then?
Sure, we can go straight to there.
Amplitude, it was about the pulse width, the duty.
It's like with pulse width modulation. I remember that.
It's varying how long the square wave is high, right?
Yeah.
That's telling you how high the amplitude is of the audio signal. So it's
Yeah.
sort of encoding it.
Yeah.
And I think what's going on here, and I'm not an expert on it, but I think what was going on is it was not bothering to filter out the square wave on the speaker outputs.
Oh.
Because when you connect a speaker across the 2 of them, it's got the same square wave artifact still there.
They cancel each other out.
They cancel each other out, exactly. So they're gone. So that's why when you hook a speaker up to it, you're not hearing a square wave through it, you're hearing actual audio.
Yeah.
But when we're only grabbing from one side, we have issues like that,
So
right?
for our particular application, we just learned a whole lot of theory about pulse width modification, which we didn't even really want to know.
Class D amplifiers, didn't want to know about those either.
Okay, so instead of running a class, like, are we going to hear the class D now, or are we going to? No, we're not.
Class D is on this board over here, the unmodified board.
Yeah,
that one's still running as Class D.
Because you went ahead and said, well, hey, according to this Chinese stuff here, which I translated, I can cut a trace on this board, and I can make it work like a class AB, like we expect. How hacky is that?
If you have a look over here at the pinout, there is a mode pin right over there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes through in the video.
We got it.
That mode pin, when you pass in 5 volts on it,
yeah,
the chip behaves as a Class D amp.
Yeah.
If it gets 0 volts or if it's floating, meaning there's no connection at all, it'll run as a Class AB amp. So we just scratched away the trace, and now it's running as a Class AB.
Right. So this guy was never designed to run as a Class AB. You just happened to translate some Chinese specs and figure out I can make this work like a Class AB, like we want.
So
and if you want to see that, actually hear what that sounds like, you'll have to watch the video.
There we go. So
yeah, so it looks like you guys are making good progress. Is this something you're planning on demoing at the Winnipeg show, or?
Yes, the prototype that I was building up earlier, I'm hoping to have that ready for Bruce, and I'm hoping that Bruce brings it, and if he doesn't, I hope to make another one so I can have one there. So at least we got one of these there in action at the show. Definitely want to do that. But this little discovery we made here about being able to scratch that trace away and switch the amp from a Class D to a Class AB, that was sort of the eureka moment, I guess, of our whole design phase here that finally got us some really nice audio through the cassette port on the CoCo. And yeah, there was a while where I wasn't sure how good we were going to be able to get it. Once we discovered that through translating that Chinese data sheet, it kind of all came together. And it started to make sense. Like what the weird output we were seeing the time before in the previous video with the kind of square.
Yeah, because volume wasn't working properly, or
what we would adjust
didn't do as expected anyway.
Yeah, so it was just nothing was making sense. And then we learned, oh, this is a Class D amplifier. We should probably research that. So we learned about Class D amplifiers and how they work. Like, oh, well, now I know why there's a square wave there. And I guess they left the square wave. Normally, a Class D amp on a board like this, I believe they would be converting it sort of to an analog audio signal on the way out, right? And they have, but they're leaving the square wave as part of it on both the outputs, which is why we were seeing that, right? Depending where we hooked our oscilloscope up to. So that's what I think was going on. And there might be people on the call who know more than I do, but we figured it out enough that we've got some really nice audio coming out now. And you kind of see some of my test code running there on the screen that we've written to send commands through the CoCo serial port over to this little serial port that's on the tiny little board that we're working with here. And
yeah,
so that's
and one thing I didn't want to play the actual audio. First of all, because I encourage people to go check out Bruce's site.
Yeah.
But also, too, you guys have some country music playing in the background that I'm not sure if it's commercial or not. And we've already had a few warnings about, using commercial music.
That particular one belongs to Bruce, so you'd probably be okay. I don't think Bruce would raise a claim against you.
Well, he actually mentioned on Discord he has had claims against his own stuff, and he had to prove to them it was his own.
Right.
Better safe than sorry when it comes to music, for sure.
Yeah.
So what connections are made to the CoCo to run this MP3 board?
Yeah, so we just have two. The one that you have to have is the serial connection to communicate with it. It does have an audio line out, so you could run it, hook up some external stereo system, let's say, to that line out and just use a serial cable from the CoCo. But we do also have an optional cassette line going back into the CoCo to pass audio back in, so that you'll be able to actually listen to it as if the CoCo is making the sound. It won't actually be, it'll just be sending it in. So, yeah. So those are two kind of connections back into the CoCo cables.
So could you mix that? Like if you have it coming in through the audio, like audio on basically would play it through the speaker on the CoCo itself.
Yeah.
Can you actually do sound commands and stuff on top of that and they both work, or they cancel each other out?
As soon as you run the sound command, audio off is part of the sound command, basically. So it'll cut it out. And audio stays off until you issue another audio on command after a sound command. We did actually kind of mess around with that a bit in the video at one point too.
Okay. Now, if you bypass basic and do it yourself, can you have two audio sources? I can't remember if how it worked.
No.
No. The circuit doesn't allow for that. It's a multiplexer.
Okay, so I must be thinking the 1-bit sound, because I think that you can combine.
That you can combine.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Shoot. Would have been better the other way, but now is there anything?
With 1-bit sound, guess what you've got? PCM.
I was thinking having a 6-bit sound for like sound effects and gameplay effects and stuff like that, and then if you can mix it somehow with the MP3 output, so they both come out at the same time, then you can actually have your ambient music in the background for your game, and then have the sound effects. And if you wanted to make a game that could work with the hardware or without, you could just play the 6-bit sound for regular sound effects, no music. And if you have this combined and it mixes the two signals together, then you can have those exact same sound effects, don't change your code at all. And then you just have the program basically turn on the MP3 player and have it run in the background. But it doesn't sound like it can do it.
You could only mix it externally by plugging, externally with the wires.
Yeah, because we do have the line out coming off the board, right? So we can always run that regardless of what the CoCo happens to be doing.
Okay.
So we'll have options.
Also, you had a printer here running with a Blue Streak Ultima or something. I got
just a little bit of fun, Bruce.
There it is.
That's fun.
There, that's how we programmed in the old days, folks.
I need to use my printer for something, and it's actually been really helpful when I'm writing my test code here to fire it off on there once in a while and just check it over. So
yeah, that's the old days right there.
Wow. That's what you guys used to do, huh? Wow.
Hey, well, thanks for that, David. I'm glad the project's actually going because it looks like you guys were getting a bit frustrated with the audio quality there before from some of the issues you were having, but it sounds like that's pretty well been solved now.
Yep, we're good to go. Green light.
Awesome. Okay, next up we have Ack Robert on YouTube has released an almost 1.5 hour walkthrough with some mini interviews of the VCF Southern California from last year, so February of 2024. So a good 10 months ago. But he actually talked to Henry Strickland, who's going through the CoPico project for wireless networking. He also has Rick's an early version of Rick's Ethernet board there. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to catch that little bit that he talked to him. So I'll play that little clip, and there's general coverage of the entire show. You can see all kinds of stuff.
Start doing our networking, we're clearly going to have to adapt to FujiNet, because that's where the momentum is. That's very cool.
There's Henry, for those of you who don't know.
Start that Devo video again. Just found my LAN server over here. And page 813 is Devo.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you mind if I take a picture?
Sure. And it's playing Whippet. The sound is synchronized with it. That's very cool.
So for the audio listeners, he's playing. It's kind of choppy. It's on a CoCo 1 or CoCo 2, not a CoCo, or it's on a CoCo 3, I guess in this case. But he's streaming over the network the Devo Whippet video with sound.
Is what you're doing. So what we're really showing off is a board with a PiPico W on it, but we're also comparing it to this cartridge that has a boot ROM and an Ethernet chip in it, made by Rick Newland in Wisconsin. And I've been writing software for it for the last year or so, and then a friend in the last couple months has built this, and that PiPico W can replace both the boot ROM and the Ethernet chip and do a lot of other stuff. So we're kind of excited to find out what we can do with it.
What was the original idea to do with it? What is it?
Here's one motivation. If you had a CoCo and only one peripheral, like you didn't have hard drives or floppies or whatever, you could just plug in an Ethernet card and access everything you need over the internet.
Text-based Ethernet or internet, like old board services like Gopher, that kind of thing?
Well, there's no reason it has to just be text-based. I'm showing a Devo video over here.
That's awesome.
So yeah, push the limits, figure out what we can do.
Absolutely. Well, that's exciting. New stuff. I love this. This is the next generation.
Okay. And my friends called it CoPico.
Right.
But these have only existed for a week or two. So we're still working on them.
Absolutely. Super. Is there a Discord where people are discussing the software or anything, or is it?
The Radio Shack Color Computer Discord would be the umbrella Discord for all of this.
Okay, great.
It's called CoCo Discord.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
All right.
And of course, they demonstrated at CoCo Fest this past year, playing a multiplayer game head-to-head on different CoCos going through. Was through your card, Rick, wasn't it?
Correct. We're using the simple Ethernet card.
Yeah, so kind of a Space Wars style game with up to, I think, 4 players at once or 3 players at once. I know there was a few people playing it.
Yeah, it'll do 4 people at a time. And like you can see, this is all, keep in mind, this is all development stuff. So that video is like the roughest video you're ever going to see. There's no, like palettes or anything like that. We just said, okay, we're going to pick some random color. It's kind of like watching the video chip on the CoCo 2. These aren't the colors we want. These are just some colors we picked, and away we go. But that could be quite more interesting looking. I guess the point that I'm trying to do with the CoCo IO thing is it's just the CoCo doing it. It's not a Pi doing it, and then we're watching the Pi from our CoCo kind of thing. That's just not interesting to me. So I guess we've got both projects going on here at once. He's got a Pi doing much more than the CoCo can do, frankly. But, you know.
If
Yeah, well, one's more low level than the other one, which gives you, you know, some opportunities to do things that you may not fit with what the Pi programming is.
I mean, yeah, I'm really interested to see what we can do with Ethernet on a 6809 or 6309. That's just something that hasn't been done. You know?
Yeah, except for that little card that Microware made back in '84, but never saw the light
Right,
of
that
day.
like 12 people got to play with. And
Yeah.
So what if someone wants to write a game on the CoCo and wants to make it multiplayer over the internet? Which card is the easiest to program for? Like I need to be able to, if I'm running a game, I want to be able to read some data to get the position, say, or the status of the other players while my game's still playing.
Well, see, the difference is, do you want the game to run on the CoCo or do you want the game to run on a Pi?
I want it to run on CoCo.
Because if you're writing all the code on the CoCo, it would be easier to just use an Ethernet port on the CoCo and talk to the CoCos. So my idea, if you want the nicest game, then you want to write the game on the Pi.
Unable to place call or Bluetooth phone.
Why not use the serial port?
Well, because the wire on the Ethernet is much longer than the wire from a serial port.
Yeah.
Like
And we
around the world.
kind of been there, done that with the serial thing. With the serial port, you're limited by what you can bit bang, and you're taking up space with the CPU just getting the serial port to work.
Yeah, it's CPU intensive.
True. And like I say, it's been done. See something
Is there
different.
Have you got anywhere we can look at the code needed to transfer data with your network card, Pat?
Yes, sir. Actually, Henry Strickland's GitHub. I will send you some stuff.
Yeah,
It'd be
I'm just
easier
curious
because I haven't got it to mind right now in a nice, concise manner. But basically, yeah, we have GitHubs with all kinds of things going on that you will find interesting.
Because that's obviously an area where the CoCo is still behind in that having multiplayer games whereby many people with a CoCo or several can play a game over the Ethernet. Like the one game running on the CoCo, but having multiple players participate. Like, you know,
like the Space War game they demoed at CoCo Fest, yeah.
Well, exactly. The number of people and the expense of the connection don't matter anymore as long as you're on.
But running on the CoCo, not running through a PC or whatever or anything else. We want the game running on a CoCo, and when you're playing on the CoCo, you can see the other players playing on your screen.
Right. No,
Yeah, because if you look at that project that Brett Gordon and Marc Overhoser are working, that isometric dungeon game, like that's being hosted on a PC. The CoCo's receiving, like, you know, you moved here, this item showed up here, this character moved here type thing. And it renders that out locally on the CoCo 3 screen, but it's not running the game itself.
The game's actually running on something else, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Henry is in the Henry Strickland is actually in the chat right now, and he just said that's the multi-user game I had at CoCo Fest. And that's the Space War we're talking about.
Yeah, that was cool. That's a good start as to where we could go.
Now, Henry, you're still on the call, I hope. The breaky Henry, I should say, since we have multiple Henrys being involved now.
Oh, yeah. Which Henry do we want? Henry third.
Yeah, I'm still here. You just called me with the phone in my pocket.
Okay. Because the next one up here is a blog post by Mike, who's a seat safety switch on the CoCo Discord, posted a link to his blog about FujiNet and his experience of building and using it on the CoCo. And one thing they've got there is they've got some multiplayer online games now there too, like 5-card stud poker, Yahtzee, and a few others. But those are more turn-based games. So is FujiNet, as far as its communication between different machines on the network, is it more of a sort of a call and response style as opposed to a real time, or it can handle both?
So the question mark on that is what's going on in the FujiNet library, because everything that's done on FujiNet is done by calling an operation on the FujiNet device itself. So if there's, there's more likely than not, there's data transfer that can be done. For instance, you've got Bouncy World, which looks like it's not necessarily turn-based, that it's semi-real time. But Bouncy World hasn't been translated to CoCo yet. And so I'm thinking that the answer is yes, we can do that. The question is, what library calls do I need to make in order to make it happen?
Okay. Yeah, Henry just mentioned in the chat too. He said it uses his Spaceport game uses UDP broadcast, 1 per player per second to share state. And we kind of showed it on the show before. I think we actually had some video from the fest itself, CoCo Fest back in May, that kind of showed it off.
I'm not sure if FujiNet exposes UDP by and of itself, but it's an open source project. So if it doesn't, and we need it to, we can make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd taken a look at the games they already offer, including a few that aren't on the CoCo yet, and it didn't seem to be too many real-time style games on it. It was more turn-based stuff that would be a little bit easier to implement, obviously.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mike's blog here kind of goes into explain what FujiNet is, and some of the stuff like it has SD cards for accessing programs, so you can also get them off the internet. Loading entire game cartridges off the network share and SD, kind of like OSC does. Cross-platform multiplayer games like 5-Card Stud Poker is an example. Apps like the Space Station Tracker, weather reports and stuff live. Mastodon client, if you want to talk on there. Dial-up modem emulation for things like internet pipe BBS accesses and stuff too. Online Hawaii high score tables, which is one big plus for that, is that you're competing against other machines that aren't CoCos. Like you can play against Atari people and Coleco Atom people and Apple II people and stuff, and actually you can all compete for high scores, etc., which is kind of cool. And he kind of goes through and he's talking about the older one with the still has this little serial tag thing on it. So there's something that they're gradually limiting. As Van Reed mentioned earlier, the Bitbanger port is really CPU intensive because the CPU has to do the timing for the right baud rate and then read each individual bit one at a time. And if you're trying to write something at the same time, that gets pretty tricky. Whereas if you actually have either a full-blown RS-232, if you were doing the old modem style stuff, or something a bit more modern that does packets and stuff, there you can actually, here's a whole whack load of data ready for you, just go get it, instead of having to do this intricate timing and stuff. So Anyway, he does an interview or a review on that. Talks about some issues he had when he first tried to get it running. Eventually got it working. I know there's a problem, I think, Henry, with upper lowercase, like when you're trying to punch in your password for your network. It doesn't display.
It doesn't display any indication that you're upper or lowercase. And that's part and parcel, and that's part of the fact that just in order to get some feedback on what's actually going on, like what's selected and what's not selected, Inverse Video had to be co-opted to say, okay, you are here and you are working on this. So the uppercase and lowercase, unfortunately, lost out as a result of that. And when Tom was writing this, he didn't have a CoCo 2 with a T1. He had just a plain CoCo 2. And when you look at it, not everybody's going to have the T1 anyway. So it's going to be a little bit of a dive into config to see what can be done to make lowercase actually work. My personal dream, P mode 4, a P mode 4 config.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you can fit more text on the screen too. You can do like a 42 by 24, 51 by 24.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which, every word processor and spreadsheet pretty well back in the day, that's what they did too to get around that same issue. I mean, you could run true lowercase on a T1 or a CoCo 3. So if you have either of those, you could get it. But sorry, somebody was saying something else?
I said except for color script set.
Well, disk scripts it did, but it did on the graphics screen. But I only made it 32 by 16, so it's the exact same size. It just had really nice looking lowercase. Next up, we have posted by Thomas himself here was a link to Andrew Diller, who posted the FujiNet Rapid 13, which I assume is their little internal newsletter type thing on the 13th issue, I guess. But basically, this one is a summary of what happened in 2024. Now it's a really tall thing, so when I tried to view it, it kind of really cuts it off or shrinks it down to fit on the screen. So I will skip to a preloaded version I actually brought up earlier. And this is kind of their wrap up to 2024. And they actually mentioned specifically on the CoCo, official support for the CoCo was added in firmware 1.4. And subsequent developments included a bus version using the SP32S3 microcontroller and RP2040, eliminating the need for a serial dongle. Now that's still the prototyping stage, right? That's not the version that you can download and fiddle with now, Henry, or is that out yet?
Which one? Sorry.
Version
The non-serial dongle version, the one that's actually bus-based.
Give me a second. I'm having Zoom trouble.
He sure does. He sure does.
That does.
Yeah, it almost sounds like the Game On Challenge.
It's just audio zooms. This is...
Hang on.
Ah, there's an improvement.
Meow.
Anyway, while he's kind of checking that out here, I'll just mention the fact that it covers all the updates for all the platforms, and it's been expanding. So the platforms that are currently either working or are in the process are the Atari 2600, the Apple II, the CoCo, the Commodore 64, 68K Max, and the BBC Micro. So these are the type of systems that you'll be able to play against on some of these games like Yahtzee and Five Cart, Stud Poker, etc.
Okay, so I'm better now. I'm better now, Curtis. What was your question?
Well, they mentioned in the 13th issue here of the FujiNet blog newsletter type thing that the CoCo as subsequent developments included a bus version using the SP32S3 microcontroller and RP2040, eliminating the need for a serial dongle. Now that's still more of a prototype, not an actual
that's
release
still in the prototype phase. They've got it working. So there's still some bugs. There's still some bugs to work out, some kinks to work out. It's a little bit of a kludge to put together, but that's part of playing with the prototypes and the PC boards, because we've got two microcontrollers on there. One's handling the FujiNet stuff, and the other's handling the CoCo side stuff, as far as like making the communications happen. The RP2040 is acting as a ROM emulator, and it's also acting as a bus arbiter. So that's just taking over what the whole dongle used to do. So I'm walking into this not having examined the code base and not having examined what's going on. Like I said, apparently from what I last saw, it was working. I just haven't had a chance to play with it yet.
Okay. Now, is it still using DriveWire underneath all this for the CoCo stuff too, or is that changing with the bus version?
I haven't looked at the ROM, but I have a sneaking that it will.
Okay.
And I can't say anything as far as the FujiNet project is what it'll look like what it's going to look like moving forward. But
easy for you to say.
Tell me about it. If we're still using the HDB DOS basis, then what that will mean is anything DriveWire-ish will still work with that. We'll have a large number of compatibility availability simply because of the fact if we're using HDB DOS, then that means Becker ports available. That means we can memory map to places that can just go off to the IO space.
Okay. I just want to mention Henry Strickland in the chat mentioned, by the way, the Space War runs at slow CPU rates, so 0.895 megahertz, P mode 3, so that works on a CoCo 1, 2, or 3, and uses Rick's CoCo IO card for the Ethernet. Now, they have some other updates here involving the CoCo. Under hardware, Chris Tersteeg, skilled hardware designer, and it's instrumental in bringing the CoCo bus version of FujiNet to life. So that's the person that I assume you'll be working with if you're going to help with the bus thing.
Yeah, Chris and who was it? It was Chris and Ben, or was it Chris and Jeff? Yeah, Jeff. Chris and Jeff were like, we've gotten so far, and we're starting to discover that real life's getting in the way of us actually getting real work done.
That's a common problem.
Yeah. So, they were like, can you look at this? And I'm like, sure, I'll be happy to join on, get this looked at, play with it.
Then they mentioned there's an infamous HTTP memory leak that was plaguing all of them because it was a FujiNet firmware issue that finally got resolved because that affected all the platforms. which is good. Firmware 1.4 official support was added for the Tandy color computer. Improvements were made to the config application for the Apple II, and enhanced boot support for alternative disks implemented for the Atom. So firmware 1.4 enhanced a couple of machines that are already on it, and I actually officially added the CoCo, which had been kind of in testing up until that point. Yeah, more talk about the CoCo bus hardware development. Applications. So they mentioned.
I didn't do it.
No, that's mine. It's not supposed to be hooked up to my computer right now. I don't know why it's doing that. The applications, I got 5-card stud, multiplayer poker game, receive client updates for various platforms. Atari client was released early in the development cycle, followed by the Apple II and Commodore 64 clients. I think there's a beta of that one for the CoCo too, isn't there? I think I saw some screenshots of it.
Which one?
The 5-card stud one.
5-card stud I haven't looked at yet, but I'm sure that it's there. I know that we've got because I think Eric Carr was the one who was working on that one, and I know we've got a pretty darn functional Fujitsu.
Yeah, Fujitsu. Sorry, I've seen the screenshots. I'm pretty sure I've seen the 5-card stud ones too on the Facebook group. Bouncy World as a multiplayer demo. That's the one that's kind of more uses the real time. That sounds like it's only on the Apple II, or sorry, the Atari right now, and then Apple II and Commodore 64 clients being worked on.
Right, and so I'm not sure how that's going to work in because those all have like 40 column modes and 40 by 24, whereas the CoCo starts at a 36 by 16. So it's going to have to be on the CoCo if we're going to play with it. It's going to have to be a graphics mode one because we don't have the character set for that anyway.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen screenshots of that one, so I don't know what it looks like. The semi-graphics wouldn't handle it, I presume?
No, the semi-graphics wouldn't do it because what you've got, you're using graphics characters off of the Atari to make those. So it's kind of like using Petsky or Atari.
Oh, Tasky and Petsky and all that. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So that's another reason to do the P Mode 4 version of it then.
Yep.
We already have a Petsky character set done. We can lend you for that.
My project space may not be bouncy worldable.
Then they mentioned the weather app, which they're mentioning Atari and Apple II. I don't know if it's a CoCo version of the weather app yet. I haven't seen one. The ISS tracker, on the other hand, definitely have seen. I've seen it actually demoed live at some of the shows. Kentucky web browser, that was something that somebody had started on the CoCo like 20 years ago, but they never bothered finishing it. It'd be a lot easier now. VT100 terminal. There are multiple ones in the CoCo, but they're all based on the Bitbanger serial port or an RS-32 pack, so I'm guessing they would need to be patched. I'm trying to remember if we got source code for any of those. I don't know if we do. I might talk to see if I can get a hold of some of the original authors like Eddie Kuntz and who's the guy that did the V term? Tim Cancel, I think, is the other one that did some really, really good implementations of VT100, including like, graphical, double high, double width characters and stuff. And that's CoCo 3 for 80 columns, etc. But those hopefully can be, if we get the source code, we can patch those to run as a full blown VT100. I think I mentioned some other utility type stuff. Anyway, there's lots of updates here. There's updates by each of the individuals that are being involved with this. So we'll see Henry's name in there, I'm sure, next year.
Hopefully. I'd like it.
And then you have a little picture kind of gathering the developers here. I see Boise in the background behind Thomas. So that's because he helped with the whole DriveWire report to get the CoCo version going. Oh, and here's your Bouncy World screenshot of Bouncy World.
Yep.
So what is Bouncy World really? Is it based on an arcade game?
It's not even an arcade game. It's just like, it's almost like a little bit of a demo that, like a 0-player game almost. It's like you tell it, I want to add this in, and it puts a little thing in there, and it bounces across multiple screens. So all the FujiNet devices that are on the same network, that becomes their world, are the screens of the FujiNet devices that are on the same network.
Okay.
Does it like synchronize them all together?
No, it uses them as different aspects of it. So like your screen might be to the left of the screen to the of the guy across the room, and when things move off to the left of his screen, they start showing up on your screen. So it adds screens to the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a cute little demo. Yeah, it's a cute little multiplayer demo as it were.
I just got an update. William A. thing in the chat here says, real life is getting in the way of my work on the 5-card stud game for the CoCo. I had it working, but not for more than a few players. My cards were too big, hard to re-engineer it using the Apple II assets. He said he had to re-engineer, but not too hard. It's basically shrink them down for 256 widescreen versus a 280. But it sounds like he's the guy actually doing the 5-card stud port on the FujiNet for the CoCo. So it sounds like he's pretty close.
Okay, yeah, it must be built in because I thought it was Eric Carr, but Eric was the one I think who did I think he did Fujitsu.
Okay. Going back to Rick's CoCo.io board, Henry Strickland also posted a link in the chat here directly to his GitHub if you want to grab the Space War game demo that he showed off. You'll need a couple of CoCos and some CoCo.io boards, but should be able to play multiplayer Space War.
We should start a communication channel or something on Discord so everyone who's got a CoCo.io online can put their IP address up.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Anyway, lots of stuff happening in networking on the CoCo. That's another highlight of this year. I guess I just should have mentioned at the beginning when we were kind of going through what's the cool things that happen. Well, there's multiple networking solutions all coming up from all over the place, and various strengths and various on the various cards, and they're all going under hardware mods and software demos and software actual applications and stuff too. So that's really cool. Next up, Terry Steggy posted a teaser video on the CoCo Facebook group and on his YouTube channel as well for his Retro Tech Time brand. And this is kind of a teaser for a full-blown video he's going to be releasing a little bit later here, kind of going through the Ag Vision. He's actually got a boxed, complete one. So not just a loose one you picked up on eBay somewhere. And I don't know if his music is in the background's copyright free or not, so I won't enable it. But I can show you what the video looks like. There's the original box. And you actually got documentation, the Ag Vision itself, the blue version, not the gray video textile. Some instructions from Ag Vision itself, and then all the cabling, etc. that came with it. So anyway, he's going to have a full-blown video kind of going through the whole thing. So that'll be interesting to see.
Don't you wish you'd made that video switch box that was in the stack of accessories?
There was a bazillion of them, wasn't there?
Everything in the world had that exact same box.
Yep.
Somebody made $1 trillion billion off of that.
Yeah, they just had different labels. Some said computer TV and some said game TV.
Right.
But the Ag Vision was basically a terminal.
Yeah, it had a built-in 300 baud modem and even had a little modem light where the RAM's badge goes.
Right.
Right.
And the ROM was not basic; it was an actual terminal program, Videotex, basically with their little protocol that they came up with, this cursor positioning and a few other things. Similar to what's in the Deluxe's built-in terminal program, by the way. They're actually quite compatible. Next up after that, this is posted on the CoCo group on Facebook by a person named Paul Cisco. And he goes, I've had this CoCo for quite a while, and I haven't figured out what this switch does. It has connections to R12, R17, TP6, TP7, TP8, U17. Now, TPs are test points, if I remember. And a connection through a diode to pin 2 of the resistor, which is pin 4 of the 6809. Any idea this board does? And this is a new one I've never seen. And you saw about this little board here and the wires going all over the place. This is an F board CoCo by the looks of the stamp over here. And he does have some further pictures he did in the comments here, like zooming up and stuff here. But has anybody seen something like this? It was actually got an OK testing written label here that says it was done in 1982. So I don't know if this was a Tandy sanction mod to fix something or if it's a complete third party or somebody did it all on their own. Most people who did stuff on their own didn't write down the date it was okayed though. So
Tandy wouldn't put that switch on the case like that.
Right. They wouldn't have used the same colors for every jumper either. Someone had a big hank of blue and white twisted pair of wire, and they just got after it.
Yeah, this is a hobbyist job.
You don't think there's chips on the other side of that board, is there?
No,
No,
it's
there's
one
not.
way.
Not.
You can see the traces on the other side of the board, though, if you look close.
Yeah.
On my first CoCo, I had a Lightning 128 mod on there that had 128 of RAM. Or was it 256? I think it was 256.
Let's see. Like I know there's some speculations here. Like they were asking for what some of the chips are, and like Andrew I says, given what we found, it looks like there's dual comparators, dual counters, flip flops, and such involved. So they're
You,
wondering if there's some sort of
blow that up so
sorry.
we can have a look at it. Yeah, that definitely was not a Tandy thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Here's the switch up close.
Well, we can have a quick look and see what pin 6 of the processor is.
There's a zoom up of the little satellite board if that helps.
I
You can see
wonder
the
if
okay date 282, so February of 82, which is pretty early.
There's
I
no
wonder if
memory
it's
on
some
that,
sort
huh?
of
Well, what's the oh, that's the date. So 746.
is that going to the pause of the CPU?
I don't know off the top of my
Like,
head.
is it something to slow the CPU down?
That wasn't one of the things that they were kind of hinting at. Like Tim Linder kind of went through the chip numbers here to figure what they are. And he said, you know, it's a flip flop, dual D type, then a 4-bit binary counter, a monostable multi-vibrator 45 nanosecond. And he couldn't find a data sheet on the 1973 chip, which somebody else I think did find.
That's a counter.
Yeah, what pins in the processor did it go to?
Oh God, I don't know.
Well, the article, though, you said something on the article there.
Yeah.
Pin 4.
It's not a real-time clock.
Pin 4
So what's
is
pin 4 do?
Well, in a way, it might be.
Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Pin 4 is FIRQ.
Oh, fast interrupt.
Interrupts.
So this must have been a hardware capture board or something.
He's
that was
got two
timed.
counters cascaded together there, so he's doing some kind of timing thing and hitting an interrupt with it. Is our guess, I guess.
What's some of the other touch points it's hitting?
Connections to R12, R17.
Isn't this something AI could figure out?
Test points 6, 7, 8.
All right, let me have a quick look at those.
Yeah, what are the test points?
Touch point 7 eventually runs over to the E clock on the SAM.
Okay.
6. Is 4. Okay, must not be on that page.
Looks like spaghetti with no cheese.
You love printed schematics, don't you?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Because usually most of the touch points were like from the power supply and stuff.
Right, right.
Touch
But
point
we have a clock. And
touch point 6 is a 5 volts. Imagine
TP6 is plus 5?
Yeah, according to this one. Of course, it's pretty
Which
fuzzy.
one?
F board.
Okay, I'm using an old one then because that's TP12 on mine.
So imagine the TP8 must be ground. U17 pin 1.
Is that a not copper non-braided wire, like what you'd have in a telephone cable?
yeah, it's twisted pair like phone cable.
Okay, so U17 pin 1 is the PIA that handles the DAC. Pin 1 is Not very evident. Oh, pin 1's ground. They're just pulling ground off the PIA.
So it's tied into the DAC and it's tied into the FIRQ. So a sound thing maybe? Because a counter would make kind of sense.
Well, it's just using, they're just borrowing just a ground off of there. They're not, unless.
Oh, right. So the
connections
DAC's
are for it.
just a ground. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not.
And it does have two different counters, so he's counting up a bit for some reason.
So he's doing something and then invoking an FIRQ?
Right.
What were those two
Why?
resistors?
Yeah, Geronimus Vanden kind of speculated, talking about the 7310 chip produced a Fairchild chip in 73. He said that was an old chip when they produced the board, but it was a fairly generic component. It appears the board was sampling and comparing some data or modifying some counters.
Yeah, what was the two resistors?
R12 and R17.
R17. All right, let me see what those might be.
It wouldn't be a crude music digitizer of some kind, would it?
It doesn't look like it at this point. Let me see what those resistors are. There's only 100 of them on the CoCo.
Right.
That's linked to that switch too that was installed, so it's something you could probably turn off and on, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Well, it's there are two things that thing's switching when it switches. I think that's a DP.
Okay.
Yeah. I always get those two confused. I can never remember which one's the pole and which one's the throw.
It isn't like a filter for the cassette port or anything?
Nah.
Well, it's definitely going to take some time to try to track down those two resistors.
It's a mystery, and it's probably fixing some bug or something. It's probably not
What's
even
that
adding
label
a
say?
feature.
Oh, it says okay.
All right, I found R12. Where's the other one? What was that other one?
R17, wasn't it?
Okay, so R12 is over by the cassette out. Is feeding one of the op amp, the 393 op amp. Oh, it's from it's the cassette. R12 is a cassette in.
So maybe it is doing something with dealing with making the cassette work better, or changing the format that it's using.
R17 has got to be in the same area. I just haven't spotted it yet.
Oh yeah, by number. Yeah.
It's government encryption.
It's making it into a Class AB amplifier.
Yeah, I mean, there's 16, 37. R35. Yeah, so it must be doing something. So cassette in, and then it triggers a FIRQ. Is it an alternate way to bring in cassette then?
That would make a lot of sense if you're setting it up so that you can read maybe something like because the Model 1 uses zero crossing to determine when it's going to hit. That's how they were able to do that thing that cleans up the signals. And so if they actually managed to do a true zero crossing detector and ran a FERC when that hits, then yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Oh, I found R7. I think it's R17 it's on the cassette out.
That's definitely doing something with the cassette data. Then
So it's
that's got to be what it is.
Conditioning the line, or
Could be. Could very well be.
so
If they have proper timers and counters too, you probably could do increased baud rates and stuff too.
Yep.
All right.
I think it's some type of a asparagus circuit.
Okay, has been called.
Well, we've already reverse engineered it, so
Too late.
Yeah, now we're on to the broccoli circuit. So Okay, next up. I actually missed this when it was released on November the 28th. But if you go to the CMOC page that Pierre Sarrazin does, of course, CMOC is the C-like compiler for CoCo 1, 2, and 3 and works both Disk Basic and OS 9. And there's multiple things been released here. You can actually see some of the stuff that's been developed, including the Space Bandits game by Jamie Cho. There's utilities, there's all kinds of stuff. But one thing that was actually updated to version 0.4.2 on November the 28th is high-res text. And this is a library that redirects the printf command to use a software-based 51 by 24 or 42 by 24 black on green P mode 4 text screen. There you go, Henry. It's already written for you, ready to go. Sample program is included, optionally supports several VT52 terminal sequences, so you're partway to the VT100 as well. Useful to get true lowercase, including Latin 1 accented characters on all CoCos, and it's usable under OS 9 as well. And it was used by Michael Furman's DW term, the DriveWire terminal program, in the 51 by 24 mode. So that actually might be quite useful to you, Henry, for getting a head start on doing a P mode 4 implementation, depending on how fast it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, Microgames Basic. UG Basic has had multiple updates over the last few weeks, as per usual. There's the main branch and the beta branch. The main branch, the last few weeks, has mainly been bug fixes. Like they said here, unexpected behavior with random height and random width. I like that, unexpected behavior. A bunch of bug fixes, etc. here. What's that?
Better than saying bug.
That's kind of what you call your bugs, unexpected behavior, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, that's right. That's all mine are.
Sorry, that's on the main branch. That's kind of the stable branch. The beta branch is where the cool stuff happens. And this it had quite a few bug fixes as well, but also has a bunch of new things added in that they're kind of working on but aren't ready for release yet. So, for example, they have add support for sprite priority and sprite set. What else they got in here? There's some bug fix there. Added support for keyword mob set. I'm not quite sure what that even is. Added support for doubling multiplex sprites. So a fair bit of graphic stuff going on there. And then if you go back, a few days earlier, there's a bunch more. Added support for SID files with C64 and C128. We actually have a SID player on the CoCo as well. There's even a Dragon / CoCo 1.2 version. I think that's the engine that Stuart Orchard used a version of it on his Return of the Beast game, which is Time Pilot 84 style. So that might be possible. Now, we wouldn't be able to do anything in the background while it's running, but if you wanted like a little intro screen that doesn't do anything but play me some music, it might be useful for that. Anyway, there's been a ton of stuff as usual, lots of bug fixes and going. Now, I was actually going to put some of the earlier games that they released written in UG Basic for the CoCo, and I downloaded some of the really old ones. There was like a Sokoban game, Sokoban 64 Plus, I think it was called, and one or two others. And I don't know if they were written with such old versions that they don't quite work anymore, but I was having problems even getting them to run properly. So I have not put them on my game site because I couldn't get them reliable. Things like, the joystick controls, it would not work properly and stuff. And it was kind of, I don't know what's going on.
Wonky is the word?
Yeah, sure. If Alan's still on, I was wondering, has he tried some of these older ones to see if they actually did work? Because I tried it on real hardware and emulators, and I got the same bad results on both. And I don't know if
I didn't try everyone, but I have done like Acme Inc. and a couple of them. And
okay.
Yeah, there were some earlier bugs that they may need to be recompiled.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm suspecting. Because otherwise, it'd be complaints about the joystick not working properly pretty consistently, I would imagine. So yeah, the Sokoban 64 actually looked pretty good. And like the CoCo 3 version and the CoCo 1.2 version actually have, decent graphics and stuff. And since Wayne's also doing a Sokoban 2, I thought it'd be kind of cool to, update my website with both. And now Wayne's still adding more stuff. And this one, actually, I couldn't get it to run properly. I couldn't even get off the first level. Because if I move the joystick, what was it left? It would move right instead, and up and down didn't work at all.
There were some older bugs, so it sounds like that one needs to be recompiled.
Okay, because that was right off their site. So
UG Basic channel.
Yeah, because that was actually right off of his website that I downloaded it. So It could be that, the actual GitHub type thing has the more modern fixed up ones, and the website, somebody just forgot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
If you get a chance, Alan, like if you're bored over the holidays, if you can recompile it, maybe send it to me, and if it works, then I'll put it on the website, and we can also notify him to replace the version he's got on there, because it did look pretty good from what little bit I could do with it. But
I'll see if I can get that to work.
okay, thanks. Next up, a person named Ben Cossett on YouTube released a video of Goofy Covers Government Inside Congress, which is one of the old Walt Disney personal computer software presents. The multimedia stuff. We've covered some of these before from a different YouTube channel. This one has some really cleaned up video on it. It does have the full multimedia, so it has all of the voice acting and stuff on cassette that would play while the graphics are going on. And these came out in like '83, so this is like quite early.
Walt Disney Personal Computer Software presents Goofy Covers Government.
So this is where I basically use the audio on, motor on commands to time the tape playing in the background with the program running in the foreground, doing graphics and its own little bit of sound. And it kind of goes through, they had a whole bunch of in this series. They had stuff for teaching Spanish and doing math and, monetary stuff.
I thought for a second they were saying Goofy runs government.
Well, that's been the last 30 years, hasn't it?
I mean,
Goofy does run.
Goofy'd probably do a better job.
Yeah, I think so.
And that goes for both of our countries. So, I mean,
and both of our houses.
Goofy's going to be one hell of a busy dog. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
Anyway, you could tell he was using like a very clean output. He's got no artifacting. Everything's crisp and clear, so it actually probably looks a little bit better. Now, I will say on a real CoCo, on a CRT or a TV, like a non-RGB one, composite, this would not show up as vertical stripes. Even in the green mode, you will get it blurring together, so you get kind of a greenish brown and a greenish blue, I think, were the two colors that kind of showed up. It wasn't perfect, but it's definitely a lot easier to read than if you did white, because then you get a lot of the color fringing. Yeah, he plays the entire thing, which is about 7 minutes long. And, that's some of the earliest multimedia teaching aids ever done on a computer. So next one up, there's a guy named Henry from the Break Key. I don't know who that guy is, but he released a video about using some semi-graphic stuff. Now, for me personally, from all the stuff you did running through GIMP and all kinds of stuff that I don't even know how to run, it looked like the hard way to do it, except you got really good results out of it, so I can't really argue. But I'll play a little bit in the background here with the volume off. What you want to kind of explain what you're shooting for here?
Well, what I was in this one, what I'm looking at is like, how do you go about taking the tools that you have to hand and turn it into something you can put into the TRS-80 or into the color computer? And so, like, okay, I've got Inkscape, which is, for those of you who speak Adobe, that's going to be Adobe Illustrator. I've got GIMP, and for those of you who speak Adobe, that's going to be Photoshop. Basic idea, develop the vectors, pull the vector into your bitmap editor, and set your bitmap editor up so that it does the same resolution and colors as are available in one of your semi-graphics modes. You get those in there, you put everything together so that you don't have like your collisions with colors, which you'll notice later on in the video, I do have an error with color collision, but that error condition was handled the way that I wanted the code to handle it, which is good. And once you've got that, you set it up for an indexed mode. Once it's set up for the index mode, you can now dump that into a header file where you can take your data that's in the header file and translate that into something that you can put into the CoCo using data statements or whatnot. So it's a little bit convoluted, but the tools that I had to hand, if you don't know of anything else to help you draw semi-graphic stuff to put into a CoCo, this will do it. And then the other side of that was I wanted to play around with run length encoding and see how that worked. And it worked out pretty well, I would say so myself. So there are a few concepts here that I'm working with.
Yeah, run length encoding was hugely popular. That was the default graphic format CompuServe used before they created GIF or GIF.
Yeah. and run length encoding. I mean, I looked at I looked at how much data I needed without run length encoding, and then with run length encoding, it made a huge difference. It went from like 100 lines down to the few that you see there, or however many that is.
Yep. And then you created a nice little Christmas scene. I like your first attempt when the run length wasn't quite working right.
Yeah, I forgot to. It's like, oops, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Like I would personally love you to see like transform it between that and have it shift into the right spots. That'd be awesome.
That's doable. That's actually doable. Because the mistake I made was I think I forgot to skip a line or something like that. And in not skipping it, and added an extra byte in there of like black or what have you, and it wound up skewing it. So that should be a relatively easy thing to do. It's just to make it fast, you got to double buffer it because you're not going to get all that data transferred in one frame.
Yeah, and then you add some animation stuff here at the end. Let's see if I can find it. Some sparkling stars. Now you have this weird black bar that showed up. Oops.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened with that because I was calculating out the gets and puts right. What I didn't do is I didn't grab it put it on the screen and then grab it. I poked it directly into the get put memory. So if I'd have poked it onto the screen, grabbed it from the screen, and done it that way, I might not have had that black bar issue. I have no idea what's doing that.
Yeah, because I know you did a call to me and Nick on that, saying if we would figure it out, but we didn't really do the poking directly in with var pointer.
Yeah, I have no idea what's doing that, but oh well. It wouldn't be a breaky episode if there's not some kind of mistake.
But it's a nice little demo. Have you got it available for download somewhere so people can actually run it over Christmas?
I do not have it available for download, but I can put it up on my GitHub. I'll get it up there this afternoon, and let's.
Yeah, if you want, even throw a disk image up onto the CoCo Discord, just so people that have CoCo 1s and 2s can have a really colorful Christmas scene.
That's going to be the easiest thing to do. I'll just do that then. That makes it easy.
Was that bar
People
under
already know where that is.
under the text? You know how sometimes you get underlined.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that is?
No, that's I'm not sure what's causing that. It's that right there is acting like it's got the 20 hex in it instead of having the 60 hex. But no,
anyway, it's hexed, right?
That's hexed. Yeah, we can call it that.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's a nice semi-graphics 12, so it's the same mode that Nick used with Hero, 64 by 96 by 9, if you include black. And no, it's nice. It's got a little bit of animation in it with the Happy Christmas bouncing back and forth, and then the animated stars, which almost looks like little explosions, like fireworks or something. I don't know if that was the intent or not.
I mean, that's kind of what I was going for. That make them sparkly, little poofy things that sparkle. And yeah, I did. And all that was done using I did directly poke into get put buffers, but all of that was done using get put buffers.
Yeah, and basically the program that does the actual display, other than all the stuff you did to generate the picture, is in BASIC.
Yeah,
like there's no machine language in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, Nick and I are quite glad to see that yourself, CoCo Town, and a few others have actually started using the semi-graphics and BASIC trick. And of course, we did our little update for a few extra features like how to do the PCLS, etc. But you can do this like you did. You were converting stuff on modern PC down to data statements to load in, and then run like the coding it said it wasn't too big. Nick usually does the editing an actual semi-graphics screen and then saves it as a screen, just like you'd save a screen in P-Mode 3 or something like that. You just load it. Yeah. And then, of course, if you get Robert Galt's semi-graphics 24 editor off the Color Computer Archive, you can actually use all the tools he's got built in, like filled circles and boxes and all kinds of stuff that's all built in there. It's an actual full-blown graphics editor, like a mini CoCo Max for semi-graphics 24 specifically.
Nice.
So there's a lot of different options there, but you can use all those. I mean, if you save one of those screens, you can actually, load it back in with load M, do the little tricks to display semi-graphics 24, and you can actually display the screen. And then you can do gets off that to make get put buffers, kill that screen off, and then you can actually make a game with a bunch of these buffers you've drawn on, either your method of using modern or the editor that Robert Galt did, etc. It's actually, there's a lot you could be doing with it. So I'm really hoping some more people pick up on trying this out. And if you use the even byte get puts, which you kind of have to in semi-graphics, they actually run at a pretty good clip. Like, I'm assuming you're not running that double speed pokey, or are you?
No, that's regular. I haven't poked anything as far as double speeds. It's all just normal stuff. The only pokes involved were getting the VDG into the right state, I do believe. And poking stuff into memory, obviously, but
Yeah.
as far as system manipulation, it was only with the VDG.
And I have to say, that's one of the better CoCo 1 and 2 Christmas scenes I've seen. Because usually we only get the regular, green, yellow, blue, red, P-Mode 3 type stuff here. And
that
you've
makes
got a
me
much more
happy.
colorful scene.
Bringing the color back to the color computer.
There, we need to write some network games using these types of modes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking Patrick or Rika about the transferring of data between games over the Ethernet.
I'll have to write up a short monograph and send it to you.
Something simple.
Yeah,
no, it's
no
easy.
math
It's actually
involved too, because Nick hates math almost as much as
And I
I do.
don't like all this networking stuff, having to.
There was something. Yeah, there was something else that was key in that video that I forgot about. At no point in time did I dump that to a disk image or a cassette image, because XROAR will load ASCII basic files. You can mount them as a cassette, and it'll load.
Yeah, the actual ASCII text of the basic program. You just link the text file. Yeah.
Yep, you just tell it the cassette file that you want it to load is that ASCII text file that's a basic file, and it'll load it just like it's a cassette.
Yeah, that's a cool feature. Next up, there was a release update of VCC, version 2.1.9.1 that was released earlier this week.
Oh, okay.
There's a mixture of bug fixes and enhancements. We will actually just read them out here for those that are listening on audio only and can't see the screen. Give me timer enhancements to improve game sounds. Minor tweak to special character Greek beta to match a real CoCo 3. I know MAME went through this a little bit recently where Tim Linder was fixing some VDG ones. Debugger hotkey to toggle CPU tracking. Allow / paste from text. Use correct address from CoCo 3 ROM for interrupt vectors. That was found by Brian O'Neill, author of Pack Dude 3D Monster Maze, also active on our Discord. Debugger memory display added dump of ROM and program pack memory. Debugger disassembler, easier entry of block offset for Nitrous 9 debugging. Woohoo! Add export trace to file to debugger execution trace. That's handy too, because sometimes you have to try to hunt through a bunch of things because you don't know when interrupts are going to occur type thing. You can't quite capture it on just a breakpoint. Floppy creates new file, now defaults to JVC format, which is the standard DSK. Moved auto start checkboxes from configuration miscellaneous to configuration CPU menu, so just kind of rearranging some stuff in the menus. Various other minor interface tweaks and bug fixes. Updates to the user guide, the quick start guide, and the disassembler tutorial. And you can go download that right from his GitHub now. The link I've got in the show notes. But you can download the actual executables here and the installers and give it a shot. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I don't know if anybody else in the panel has. It was a pretty recent release. But it's looking like all three of the main CoCo 1, 2, 3. Well, yeah, main CoCo 1, 2, 3 emulators. So Tier City GP, MAME, VCC, and XROAR have all got debuggers and stuff linked up now. So no matter which of the emulators you prefer, they're getting to be some really good debugging tools, especially for writing some assembly language stuff. And that's always good to see because it does definitely makes things a lot easier. And now that we're finally getting some decent ones in VCC here, Nick might actually finally use a debugger instead of trying to do it all by hand like he normally does.
I don't have bugs. I've got to get a bug first.
Your unexpected results tracker, we'll call it.
Oh, that's that I need.
I do like the fact he's actually keeping track of like MMU settings and stuff, though, the tasks which you need for Nitrous 9, because otherwise you're trying to do a breakpoint on a user program and all of a sudden it breaks in the exact same memory address, but it's in a driver in the system map. And oh, God.
I want him to change the, make it easier to choose the clock speed. The little slider bar is really fiddly.
Well, you should always just run at regular speed, right?
No way.
Then you're cheating. It's not a CoCo anymore, right? Next up, a YouTube channel called The Clueless Engineer, which is not one I'm familiar with.
That's you.
I dropped the engineer part and you got it pretty well right.
Oh, looking at the hardware there.
I'm clueless, but I'm not an engineer. Trust me.
That's what I mean. Clueless.
At any rate, he was working on this other board. He'll talk about it in a sec here when I start playing it, but he suddenly received a Matra MC10 clone, the Alice, and decided to take a first look at that. So he posted a video that's about 22 minutes plus. And this is part 1, so he's actually going to be doing some more on it. This is just kind of going through what the ports are. He had to do a little bit of tweaking to get the video output to work properly. I'll just play a little bit at the very beginning and maybe a little clip in the middle somewhere, and then I'll let you guys watch this video on your own time.
Hey, comrade subscribers. So I was just trying to do some work on the UMPK.
Is that loud enough for you guys, or
when this fellow arrived? So let's have a quickish look at this one. Right, the Matra and Hatchet, or Hache, I don't know how to pronounce it. Alice, basically a French clone of the Tandy MC10. Few differences, obviously. It's rouge, it's red. I guess it's the same keyboard. I don't have a Tandy MC10, so I can't compare it.
It's not quite. It's an Azerty, not a QWERTY, as you may notice here.
Directly. It's the same CPU, a 6803. It's 890 kilohertz or something like that. On-off on the side. The big difference, I guess, is that it's got a SCART, so RGB output rather than RF modulated output. So that
would be an incredibly good quality video signal, because that's basically RGB. So you can plug that into like a modern TV or something and get like a dead clean signal compared to the old RF or even a composite mod for that matter. So that part I'm a little bit jealous of, I must say. Anyway, when he first tried to power it on, it was doing some pretty wonky stuff.
Unplug. Plug back in. Right, so I wonder what the problem is there then.
Anyway, he ended up fixing it. He was having some keyboard issues too, but this is just a part 1 video. He just received it. Never had one before. He doesn't have MC10. Hadn't actually seen one of those either. So I'm kind of interested to see what his journey is going to be. But once he gets it up and running fully here, you can see how nice and clean the screen is.
Looking at it, if I go...
Now he's got this overlay thing, so you can kind of see through it. That's not obviously there. But it was basically just a potentiometer adjustment.
Fainter. Well, obviously we lose sync. And then if we go counterclockwise, we should get back to a area of stability. So I don't know if it should it be purple border background. I think that's as far as we can go.
Oh, so his monitor switches to color bars when it can't figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I think a few of the adapters do that kind of thing.
And
go too far.
Almost got it.
There he's going through the keyboard. But anyway, it's a start part 1 video of him going through it. He's got a few tweaks and fixes to do, and then he wants to do some experimenting running software and stuff on it. So I'll definitely be keeping track of that. I don't know if he got any software with it, if it's all in French, or if he's going to download some stuff like, some of the Jim Gary vast collection type thing. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets along with it. Next up, I don't know if 60 is still awake up in the chat there, but if he is, he can probably attest to this somewhat. So he had a request from Rolf Michelson. He said, with the ASM 609 being my go-to tool for Dragon development work, dare I suggest a few new sudo ops to make life even easier? Something along the lines of, and then he's got assert condition, comma message, warning message, error message, info message. He said, especially assert would be tremendously useful when making assumptions about equates, e.g. when optimizing code based on such assumptions. And, within a day, actually less than that, within 12 hours roughly. Wish granted, at least I've added assert. Codes in the Git repo. Can't guarantee it'll do a release before Christmas though. So basically, if you want this is bleeding edge, and you have to get it from the GitHub and probably compile it yourself. But that assert is actually in there. He said, at the moment, you can give an optional message, but I'd like to figure out how to make it print the failed assertion if you don't. Trickier than it sounds. Only whole lines of source text are held internally. Everything else is, by the time the error is generated, only available as an abstract syntax tree. And Rolf reported back, it said, asserts work like a charm. I don't have a big problem with the messageless asserts either, as long as it produces an assertion error and a line reference. That also works for quick tests where I can't be bothered to actually write a meaningful message. That sounds like me. So anyway, yeah, he's already done the patch. With the holidays and stuff coming up here, he may not have time to make the official full release with these changes, before Christmas. But look forward to this coming out officially. But if you don't want to wait, you can go grab it now off the GitHub.
I find it disappointing he had to wait 6 hours before he gets a.
How long have you been working on pinball, Nick?
25 hours.
Yeah, 1 minute per day. Next up, Dave's 8-Bit Basement, Dragon Repower Part 1. So we actually covered his initial trying to get the Dragon working, and he had some power supply issues. He ordered some boards based on, I think, John Whitworth's. I think it posted some of the schematic stuff on PCBWay. So he ordered some boards in, but they didn't come in time for his previous video. They did come in time here now. Now, he still needs some other stuff to get it fully working by the sounds of it here. So this basically shows him assembling the board because he just ordered the raw board and all the parts for the board. And I'll just fast forward so you can see some of the fun involved with hardware. I don't know why you guys put yourselves through this.
Well, without the hardware, there'd be no need for software.
Some of that. The RF modulator, which this doesn't have, and the other one was the signal for the RF modulator too. And because it's not on here, I'm not worried about it. Those are done. So those just need to be stripped and tinned to be soldered into the board. That's got the plug sitting on there to go into the board. I didn't between AC and DC with power. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's why they did it. So one way to remember your old color code to your new color code, I was taught this years and years and years ago by an old fella, and he says this is the easiest way that you'll remember what wire goes for what. So if you're in a fight and someone hits you, you're liable to be black and blue. So if you're black and blue, the other colour left is red and brown, because the yellow and orange, the yellow and green has the green stripe, which goes with the original colouring of green for Earth. So the yellow and the green go together, the black and the blue go together, and the red and the brown go together. And the other thing is the red and the brown are very close in colour. So
now, is this something that affects all electronics, like North America too, or is that something unique to?
No. Our colors are all different.
He must be talking about mains. Europe uses blue and brown, where in the U.S. it's
right, red, black, and black and white, or red, white.
I like the way Big Clive says it. You know that brown is live because that's the color your pants are going to be after you touch it.
He's got it right.
Yep.
That's how I remember it.
The man for man is correct.
And you're just discouraging me more and more from ever touching hardware in the remainder of my life cycle on this planet.
It's a wise choice.
So I'll be following up on his follow-up video here too, because he, like I said, he didn't quite have all the parts to completely complete the board, but it's pretty close. And he had to wait for the boards to come in so we get to see the boards. He actually did mention too that once he gets these done, if everything works okay, of course through PCBWay he had to order a minimum quantity, right? So he's actually got spares left over. So once he gets everything working here, he's planning on selling those basically at cost and shipping. So like $1 or $2 per board, and then whatever the shipping cost is. Now, of course, he's in the UK, so you probably want to order it from there. It'd make more sense than ordering it from North America and paying shipping that way. But that was really nice of him, I think, to sell it basically at cost instead of upcharging the crap out of it. And that's it for the news. Until next year.
Oh, right.
Which only means that we're the first episode next year is going to be 6 hours long.
Well, no, it won't be because I'll be in Winnipeg, so I won't be like, dragging it out like I usually do. So you guys should get it done in like 20 minutes.
Ooh, oh, cool. We can just phone it in, literally.
And if you guys skip the news on the return out in 2 weeks, Sarah, you can imagine how long the episode after that will be.
Yeah, we'll run into the next episode.
Yeah.
So wait, January 4th is when we come back, and I will hopefully be doing live reporting with Bruce and David from Winnipeg, from their show. And then 2 weeks after that, hopefully we'll get some reporting from the one in Fort Worth with Marc. Actually, Marc, who's going to host the show if you're at that show? We probably should decide that at some point.
Which Marc?
You, Marc B.
Repeat the question.
The January 18th, I think it is the Saturday retro show in Fort Worth. You said you were thinking of going to, or?
No, it's the June one.
Oh, okay, just the VCF Southwest. Okay.
Yeah. Although you've given me a new idea now.
Oh, hey Curtis.
You did.
I don't know if you saw it or not, but Boat Fest does not collide with VCF Southwest this year.
Yeah, they wanted to move it away from both that and Father's Day, I believe, because they were getting it from both sides of the family there. The geeks were, I can't attend 2 shows at once, so the rest of the family's going, you're not doing it on Father's Day.
Worst
Have they got official dates picked out yet? Because I know it's supposed to be about a month difference.
They do. It's July the 12th-ish, I think. I know that. Let's see. Where did I put that?
I'll put it in the show notes here for future reference.
Let's see. Well, it's from me. I'll have to hunt it down because I asked the question over on the Amigos Retro Gaming on Discord, and I can't remember where I asked that channel. So,
why is there too many channels or something to try to find stuff?
Channel.
I'm sorry, I'm probably getting sarcastic.
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine the mess if we only had the one channel?
Ooh.
At least you could find something.
It'd be a really big channel.
I would search for Boat Fest in one channel and bing.
Doesn't the search go across all the channels?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, it does, but then trying to find the channel that you were trying to track by the search.
Yeah. The thing is, it only gives you the choice of every match in every channel. So if you knew that it's in a specific channel, I think it still grabs whatever match you've got between other channels. So you sometimes have to filter a lot of crap you don't really want to see, and you don't want to see.
Right.
Mark Overhoser, are you alive and
there it
well?
is. Found it.
Okay.
July 11th through 13th.
Same venue as last year or a different one, or do you know?
He didn't say, but I'm going to imagine that that's probably the case.
Okay.
There's probably not a lot of choices in Hurricane.
There's really not a lot of choices in Hurricane.
It's been in 2 different spots already, though. So I mean,
right? Yeah, you could find.
Yeah, well, the first one was kind of a health hazard.
Right.
And the one they had it at in 24. Sorry, say again.
They've already exhausted both venues at Hurricane.
Oh.
As long as they keep it near the good pizza place, that's the main thing.
Oh,
Near the good pizza place. It's wicked close to the hotel, the 2 hotels that are there. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually literally walked back and forth. I didn't even bother taking the car for part of it.
It's that close.
Nice. And someone needs to do a wellness check on MarkO because I think he may have.
Well, he's pretty tired from his flu type stuff there, so I'm wondering if he maybe either just went to bed and forgot to log off or fell asleep at his desk like I sometimes do.
Yeah, he's going to wake up with a really sore neck.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, are you there?
Smothered by a cat, that kind of thing.
And he's the only one on Zoom.
Right. Because he's a co-host, right? Make him a co-host while I'll leave and just leave him there.
That's one thing I forgot to do was make co-hosts.
No, you made a couple.
Yeah, I think you and me are the only co-hosts.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody did it.
With less responsibility for me.
So.
Jason, there's a guy on TRS-80 color computer group that has a little trouble making a switcheroo cable work. Maybe you can help them.
Well, they can message me directly. I do not do tech support in public forums, but they are more than welcome to message me at cocoman@gmail.com.
Okay, that Bruce Moore was trying to help him.
Or on Discord. Well, it's yeah, I'll have to look later.
It was about 3 hours ago he posted, so we were all busy.
You got to plug in the composite, and you've got to give it the 5 volts.
Right. No, if it's the same person I was conversing with earlier through my website, it was they were getting RGB and not composite.
Yeah,
and
the guy's last name is Harvey.
Yeah, I think I'd have to look, but I think if it's the same person, I think they may have a converter that doesn't support composite through that switch.
Oh
yeah.
That's the problem because the things show up as generic and you can't tell what you actually have inside.
Yeah, they all say they're the same thing, and you get what you get.
Well, actually, it's the more expensive ones that do that ignore pin 16 and don't do anything with the toggle switch.
Huh.
Beauty.
All right. Well, are we ready for the outro?
Almost. I just want to remind people that tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern is the TRS-80 Trash Talk Live, and they'll hopefully be talking about the virtual Tandy show on January 25th, because they'll be doing some seminars from their group as well as people from our group. So that's on tonight, and then tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, live on Twitch and on YouTube, will be the Amigos, Amigo Aaron and the Brent, reviewing a couple of CoCo games, skiing and Horace Goes Skiing. So there's more content to watch. You don't have to take the next 2 weeks completely off. You can fill in tomorrow with a bunch of stuff too, and tonight.
Cool.
Hit the button.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server. CoCo forever.
Okay. Well, that wraps up the year.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Merry Year. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Year.
Good New Year, everyone.
CoCo goodies for Christmas.
Yep. So next week is the sanity break, and that's it.
Yep.
So January 4th will be the next one.
Yep.
I have to ask.
With so hopefully some live coverage from the Manitoba Retro Gaming Show.
Nice. I have to ask David Krager, is that a head cam?
Oh no. It was attached to my
live action soldering.
Now I'm just hand bombing it just for the end. Just to show you.
Yeah, usually Bob's the one that does all the hand soldering live while we're going on the show. So
yeah.
Nice competition.
I don't have another cam hooked up yet. Maybe next time.
And Henry does on occasion too. He soldered throughout the show as well.
Yeah. It's fun to do.
Right.
I'm too easy distracted. I'd be burning my fingers constantly if I tried. Well, okay, that doesn't matter whether I'm on the show or not, but
we burn our fingers anyway.
Yeah, who's to say we aren't? You just don't complain about it like you.
Somebody cooking chicken? Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Ouch.
Give me some barbecue sauce.
All right.
Anyway, for anybody out there still that is still listening, if you are on the Discord, maybe check in on Thursday and see if there is going to be a Game On Challenge live type thing. If enough people show up, they'll probably do a stream. If not, if it's just a couple, you can still hang out and play games and do whatever else, or just hang out on Discord and chat about whatever.
Besides, by Thursday night, you're going to be tired of the rest of the family and need some place to escape.
Right. You can trash talk the cast, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Christmas
the Game On
Merry,
Challenge Boxing Day Spectacular.
Okay, well,
right.
bye everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Merry Christmas,
Next
Happy New
year.
Year.